digital blight. Born in haste, ate the moonless night. From a rock star, dev once hail divine. You stumbled forth like Frankenstein. Rushed to shells with a clatter and clang. A broken dream where the gothic bells rang. Oh, man, sigh, thou dumpster fire bright. A flaming wreck in the dead of night. From a mile away we saw thee burn. A gothic flop, no lessons learned. Thy code was stitched with a trembling hand. A former rock star lost in the sand. Open world, they cried with vision so grand. But the bugs did swarm like a gothic band. NPCs did glitch through walls, they did fly. Even Edgar Poe would weep and cry. Oh, and sigh, thou dumpster fire bright. A flaming wreck in the dead of night. From a mile away we saw thee burn. A gothic flop, no lessons learned. Terror promised a shadowy tale, but the frame rate chugged like a ghost pale snail. A dev's ambition, once shining with might, turned to ash in the cold cruel light. Patches were vowed, but none did arrive. Mind-sized corpse refused to revive. The forums wailed with a banshee scream. Mind-sized killed my gamer's dream. A gothic disaster foretold in the stars, like a vampire fleeing from garlic and jars. We saw it coming, that smoldering pyre, yet still we bought it. What fools we aspire! Oh, man, sigh, thou dumpster fire bright. A flaming wreck in the dead of night. From a mile away we saw thee burn. A gothic flop, no lessons learned. So raise a glass to the wreck that was made by a rock star dev who lost his blade. Mine say, thy name shall forever be scorned. A gothic jest in the graveyard adorned. From a mile away we'll laugh and we'll cry for the tragedy known as poor
Time to play the game.
Attend the tale of Maxwell Roth. He sought the footlights like a moth, his sense of timing never off until he opted to collaborate with a hooded reprobate. The blighter and assassin made a deadly double bill. Jokes, 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 make 'em laugh until they choke. Fairly slay 'em in the aisles, maidens fair and princes charming. Thrills, 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 dashing feats and bloody spills, and I guarantee you'll never see the ending coming. The curtain rose, the scene was set, they danced a murderous duet, and much deserving blood was let up to. The scene wherein they disagreed on who should live and who should bleed, and Maxwell Rothy then received a very bad review. Jokes, 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 and there's daggers and there's cloaks, but behind the scenes the leading players differ on the plot. Laugh, laugh, laugh at the dandy's new red scarf. Now 8 shows a week to Beelzebub is his eternal lot. Jokes, 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 make 'em laugh until they choke. Fairly slay 'em in the aisles, maidens fair and princes charming. Thrills, 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 dashing feats and bloody spills, and I guarantee you'll never see the ending coming.
Did you see the ending coming? Did you see it coming? Maybe not. I don't know. Either way, I'm glad to have you here. Welcome once more. We're back, rocking, rolling, chilling, talking about things and stuff as it were heretofore. I'm Luke. I'm glad to have you here. Reviews have dropped for Death Stranding 2 on the beach, and They're so good, it's gonna make Kojima feel like he's chilling on a beach. Let me tell you what. I asked last night before the reviews dropped, I asked you guys on the Discord who are in there to provide your final Metacritic score predictions. And I'm checking right now. I don't think anybody is currently right. Earlier today, some of us were right. As of right now, as reviews continue to pour in, we're no longer right. But we'll get there. We'll get there because people are close. People are close. And we'll see where it like settles and where things land, because throughout the course of today, more reviews will come in, of course. But as for right now, it's doing pretty well. Doing pretty well. Luke, avoid the IGN review. Heard it has spoilers. Oh, really? There was one review we watched back in the day where they just straight up showed like the final boss fight. I forget which, was it like Lies of P or something like that? It was, and it's like a really cool final boss fight, final encounter or whatever. And they just like casually show it like it's nothing. I was like, bro, stop. Come on. Yeah, I'm not interested in spoilers either. So rest assured, if there's a chance or if there's rumors of spoilers, we won't take that risk, because I don't want to deal with that either. Who wants to deal with that? Nobody. Ain't nobody got time for that, you know? Let's see, maybe here. Nope, they don't have one. I was gonna see if GameSpot has a video review up yet, but their last video was on Mind's Eye. Sorry, probably not doing that one. VGC typically does pretty good stuff. And they very much liked it. They very much liked it. So we can look at this one too. They do a podcast, like a review podcast talking about it, but we can read through that. We can do that. That works for me. Of course, Digital Foundry also has sort of a tech review of it, talking about all of the tech going on behind the scenes to run it. So we might check that out if we have time. I'm down for that. Other than that, let's see what else is going on. Oh, I guess we do need to just touch on this before, because otherwise we're going to get 15,000 messages. You know, it's going to be a thing. New mini segment. In news, gaming news that is not at all really surprising at all. We just got the revelation that what we knew was going to happen is happening. The least surprising news story, I think, of the year so far. Mind's Eye developer Build a Rocket Boy has begun the layoff process amid disastrous launch, sources within the studio say. The studio is roughly 300 people, and the estimated cuts are over 100. So it's expected they're going to cut at least a third of the studio, which is literal decimation. I mean, oh no, my camera froze. Oh no, that was weird. that was weird. Okay, I'm back. I froze real bad. Anyway, literal decimation. I mean, they're literally just going scorched earth on it. I again, like, it kind of sucks. Can't say I'm that surprised, because like they spent many millions of dollars on this. And I mean, there's no way they made there's no way they made or sold more than like 20,000 copies. I mean, there's just no way, right? Like this thing did not make any money at all. You know, back when we talked about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, that one was kind of interesting because the estimated sales were actually half decent for like a normal game that's not, you know, freakishly expensive to put together, that didn't cost $200 million. But like, if you looked at the estimated sales, shout out to the 77 players still playing. If you looked at the estimated, where is it? Yeah, like these numbers, they're never that right. But if you average between these and you're like, okay, let's say they sold 500,000 copies on Steam. A lot of those were like on sale, sure. But if we say like 300,000 of them were at the full price and then some others, you know, trailed off, and we go like 300,000 copies, they charged $70 for that, dude. Like they made tens of millions. That's just on Steam. They made tens of millions on Suicide Squad, and still lost $200 million. That's how bad it was, you know, how much they spent on it over what they should have. But at least, you know, they took in several tens of millions of dollars. I don't think that Mind's Eye was even close to that. I don't see it. Yeah, on Steam, which does not paint the whole picture of their current popularity, for sure. The game hit a peak concurrent player count of 3,300, but had a 24-hour peak of just 130. At the time of this article's publication, 52 people were playing on Steam. It's not great. Is Bond in trouble because of this? Probably not. The thing you just have to understand, it was not clear at that IO showcase thing for various reasons. But what IO is IO Interactive is the parent company, okay? They then have like IO Studios or whatever they call them down here. These are the guys that make Hitman, and these guys make the 007 game. IOI also opened up a publishing arm. Publish. And this arm is what did the deal to publish Mind's Eye. So just because this did bad and made us sad does not mean that this, therefore, is going to be like majorly affected. It probably affects how they market it. It probably affects overall like marketing spend and stuff like that for the parent company. But I don't think it's like, oh no, this did bad, therefore they're going to cancel 007. Like, no. It's separated enough, you know. Let's see. In an email to staff reviewed by IGN, co-CEO Mark Gerhard insisted the studio remain committed to Mind's Eye, but pointed to a shift from an intense development and launch phase to a sustainable post-launch support phase. Gerhard had hit headlines ahead of the launch because he suggested that there was a concerted effort by some to trash the game in the studio, even suggesting that some of us were being paid by the likes of like Rockstar and stuff, which is pretty freaking hilarious when you think about it. But all told, I mean, again, we're can't be that surprised. Meanwhile, a studio with 30 French guys that just eat baguettes and smoke all day developed a masterpiece of a game, which already has raised exponentially more money with a fraction of the cost. I love the downfall of AAA games. That's funny. And then, of course, some random dude is like, oh, well, actually, I don't like it. Internet discourse. Ladies and gents. But anyway, yeah, Builder Rocket Boy is seeing major cuts, and this is just what's expected to be the first wave where they get rid of the first chunk of people. And then they probably do some reevaluation, figure out if they can save it, if there's anything they can do. I personally don't see it. Maybe there is a solution out there. And, you know, they finished the Everywhere platform. And in 5 years, we're like, hey, it's Fortnite 2, basically. I wouldn't expect that, but that's allegedly what they're shooting for. Okay. So it's, again, one of the least surprising news stories I've seen in a while, but nonetheless, that is where we're at. Okay. Let me open this. Also, have any of you guys tried the playtest of Chrono Odyssey? Have any of you guys tried it? Chrono Odyssey was this trailer, like you remember this trailer from back in the day where it looked freaking amazing? I just saw this pop up in my feed again. People are like, yeah, you remember this? Well, this guy, Nick, he says, having tried the playtest, it looks nothing like this. Okay, so I just want you to keep this in mind. Take a mental screenshot. Okay. Take a mental screenshot. And then let me show you what apparently it actually looks like. I mean, come on. Like, come on, guys. Come on. What are we doing? Nico posted this. Combat 3 out of 10. Graphics 2 out of 10. Exploration 1 out of 10. Movement 2 out of 10. Crafting and gathering worse than New World out of 10. And animations 1 out of 10. It's basically just New World copy with janky yes everything. How do you do a trailer like this and then you walk it back to that? Like, bro. Like, what? What are we doing? Like, it's literally not the same game. Like, not even close. I had to double check it because it's like Chrono Odyssey. Yep, Chrono Odyssey. These are supposed to be the same game. Again, I mean, come on. That's hilarious. That's ridiculous. I get it. It's at night. The lighting's different. I get it. But there is a night and day difference in art direction, in the framing. I mean, obviously, this is framed with like the sort of Sony third-person adventure camera framing. Looks kind of God of War-esque in its presentation. And the level of detail and foliage and density of foliage is insane. And then you see here, and even if he's playing on low settings, like there's just not even close to the same level of fidelity. It's just not even close. So stay skeptical, my friends. Stay skeptical. Still could be a good game. Still could be an awesome game. You never know. You know, just because graphics are not on par with what they initially framed it as does not mean that the game is therefore bad. There's plenty of good games that have less than stellar, you know, fidelity levels, but this I mean, it's pretty freaking hilarious. This is not even close. So anyway, just wanted to let you know about that because I saw it. I was like, there's no way this is the same game, but it is. Okay, what else did I have? I think that's the main thing to get out of the way up front. They also, I figure we can mention this just in case anybody cares. In the lead up to the Ally X, and then we're gonna get into Death Stranding stuff because I don't want to wait anymore. The Xbox like Wire posted some updates, and basically they're doing this. Starting this week, Xbox insiders can preview the new aggregated gaming library in the Xbox PC app for Windows and handheld devices. This holiday, the feature will be available on the Xbox ROG Ally and the ROG Xbox Ally X. Bro, seriously, whoever is in charge of naming these things, what are we doing? Like, come on, dog. What is this? ROG Xbox Ally X. Philip, baby, what? Come on. Can we not think of anything a little smoother than that? Whatever. But basically what they're doing is they're going to be merging all of your libraries together. So you can see they have Xbox Game Studios. They have, and this is a Game Pass title. And then they have a BattleNet game. They have Roblox, which is a separate game. And what they want to be able to do is also have like your Steam games all located in the same launcher, all in one place. So when you're booting up a game, you aren't thinking, oh, I've got to boot up Xbox and then go here and select that game. You can just boot it up and it's all collected here. This is nothing new. You can actually do this on Steam. You can add non-Steam games to your library and then they show up in the list. It's literally nothing new, but if it is implemented really well and it also streamlines with the rest of the console experience, it could be a really nice addition. But I've seen people talk about it and be like, oh my God, they're adding Steam to Xbox. It's like, I mean, this is basically a portable handheld laptop. It's basically what it is. So not really, like if they add Steam to the Series X, okay, now that's a big deal in my opinion. That's a big moment. But it's what GOG and Steam have been doing for years. So I don't think it's that big of a deal personally. But okay, having gotten that out of the way, we need to bring up those of you who made your Metacritic predictions. I prompted everybody late last night, so it's my bad and more people didn't see this. Real quick, Caesar Leon, Lord Bastardo, thank you for the membership before we even started the stream. And Boog Zombie, thank you for the 5. You think you'll end up liking Death Stranding 2's story more than Death Stranding 1 with what you've seen in the trailers and such, or are you keeping low expectations? My thing is, I typically feel that Kojima's good at the broad strokes. He's good at setting the scene, coming up with wacky, crazy, insane ideas. And then where I typically fall off from Kojima's writing is in like dialogue. It's just like 40 minutes of migraine. Like it's some of the discussions and stuff. Humans don't talk the way he has people talk. I'm sorry, they just don't. So I typically fall off with dialogue. I have seen some people say that it's much better this time around, which I'm hopeful for, but I've not watched or read any of these reviews. I literally have just seen the number. So I don't know. Maybe after we go through these reviews, I will walk away being like, oh, baby, here we go. I just genuinely don't know yet. I don't know. Stoic also, thank you for becoming a member. Thank you for that. Chancer also, thank you for resubbing. Hey Luke, if you were director at Rockstar Naughty Dog level game studio, had to go outside your comfort zone, what
Mr.
game would you
NP
make?
character
No
donated
pirates.
$15 through Super Chat. I'm streaming DS2 at midnight when it
Ooh.
releases into early access.
Sweet.
100% agree that Kojima could use some writing help, but I love weird sci-fi stories. I'm 100% the target
audience for this game. Thank you for the 15. That's very, very generous of you. And yeah, I mean, I just think that Kojima, again, he's so insane that he's able to come up with insane, crazy, wacky, unique stuff. And I love that. But like, there's some sequences where it's like, bro, this literally could have been an email. We're spending 30 minutes saying the same thing over and over again. Like I struggle with it. I really struggle with it. And I'm somebody that has a lot of hours in Death Stranding. I just seem to be one of the 15 people on the planet that really connects with the like delivery system and the sort of relaxed gameplay loop of Death Stranding. And I just really struggle with the narrative. A lot of people are the opposite. They tolerate the gameplay for the narrative, which is it's just funny that that's how it is. But thank you again for that. Very generous. And going back to Chanster, if I had to make a game outside my comfort zone, so no pirates, I would do a detective game set in Victorian London. I know what you're thinking. Oh, Jack the Ripper. No. The Thames Torso murders. I think that could be very interesting. I think that could be very, very interesting. So I think that's what I do. Because I love good detective games. But the problem is so many detective games are like, okay, you found the 3 clues. So you check off the boxes and now you're good. You solved the crime. I love the way that like LA Noire did it, where you don't get told outside of the tutorial. You don't get told if you were right in the crime, like solving it the way you wanted to do it. If you accuse this person of doing it, they'll just straight up go to jail and you won't really ever find out conclusively that they were the guilty party. It doesn't give you like, you got an A+ because you got the right guy. It's like, you know, it's like, oh, you supported your case with evidence and that's how you're graded, but you never really know if they're actually the ones that did it. And especially late in LA Noire, there's some really interesting nuance and times where you're like, I really don't know who that did. I don't know who did it. So yeah, the Thames Torso murders would be a very interesting one because it's in the same period as Jack the Ripper. It may have actually been the same dude. There are theories and books about that. But yeah, the Thames Torso murders would be very interesting. They just started finding people chopped up, tossed into the Thames, and it's very interesting. If you've never read up on it, there's reason to think that they might actually, you know, Jack the Ripper may have been busier than people thought he was. But anyway, topic for another time. If I had to do something really wacky and different, that's what I would do. Yeah. That's what I would do. Shake it up. Hannah, thank you for the super chat. Hi, Luke. Hi, Hannah. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to have you. And Derwina, thank you for becoming a sub as well. If you just became a member or sub before we get into this, just know we have a member/sub only Discord that you can get into if you connect your YouTube or Twitch account to your Discord account. Really easy. You just go press the gear button, connections, connect your accounts, and you will get an auto invite to the server. It is only for members and only for Twitch subs, okay? For those, like for the one person watching on Kick, if you are so inclined, let me know. And I don't even know if we have subs on Kick enabled. I have no idea. I just had one person ask if we could turn it on and turn on a Kick stream. And I was like, it's a button for me, sure. So that's where we're at. Anyway, we posted, let's do this officially. New segment. It's here, everybody. The scores, the reviews for Death Stranding. They've arrived and we're going to look at it together. I have seen the number, the Metacritic number. I've seen like some initial impressions. People have been like, 2 thumbs up, but I've not read any of these reviews yet. I haven't gotten into the minutia of it. So I will be experiencing this fresh with all of you, okay? It's going to be very interesting. Last night, I posted to our member/sub-only Discord asking what your Metacritic predictions were. I will admit I should have posted this earlier, so not very many people got to respond to it. But I was going with 87, and you can see I posted that at 9:23 p.m. I was like, I think high 80s. That's where I'm going with. I'm going to be conservative with my estimate. 87. Jacob guesstimated an 86. N gave it an 83. B went for like 82. F went for 88. Awixa gave 92. E an 83, H 85, F 89. But this is after reviews dropped, so I guess it's not technically a prediction. But this is where it started. So when the first wave of reviews dropped, it was sitting at, when I checked it this morning, 88. And after about an hour and a half, more reviews dropped, and it went up to 89. And let's refresh where it's at right now. Now it's up to 101 reviews, and it's at a 90. And this is pretty rare. You like, honestly, often Metacritic scores drop from their initial like anchor point, because typically what happens is if somebody really likes the game, they play through it, they really enjoy it, and they make their review and they launch it right at the embargo time. But what also sometimes happens is people who didn't really connect with the game take their time to play it, and then they will put their reviews out like in the days following the embargo, and their scores tend to just on average be lower than the consensus was at the start. That's what happened with like KCD2, for example. With KCD2, it started at this point and it dropped just a tad. It's pretty normal. But to see the score increasing as more reviews come out is not that common. It's a little bit more rare. What we see from these is, of course, a lot of very, very positive reviews, 4 mixed ones in this lineup. A lot of these are from outlets I personally have never heard of. So, I mean, I'm sure they're great people and wonderful people, but a lot of these are kind of newer ones. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of the reviews from outlets that we've looked at before that I think tend to be much more fair. So like, we're not going to be looking at Eurogamer. We're not going to be looking at Kotaku or anything. I'm going to try to stick to the guys that I've historically liked and agreed with. That being said, I also want to say at the outset, I did get warned by some of you that the IGN video review has spoilers in it. So to be cautious, we're not going to look at that, because obviously I don't want to be spoiled either. So, we're going to steer clear of that. Okay. But we're going to take a peek at all of these. I have VGC's perfect score review pulled up. And then I think we'll also take a peek at maybe a review or two that's maybe more like middle of the road to get some counter like veiling opinions. Maybe we look at VG247 and see what they think of it, and we check these out. There's also, of course, a tech review from Digital Foundry that goes through some of the technical improvements and enhancements that they've made. And if we have time for this, we'll check that out, because they showcase a lot of the more technical stuff that's going on, which could also be very, very interesting at the outset. My expectation for Death Stranding 2 was that it was going to be just Death Stranding with all the dials turned up. I was intrigued to see what the consensus was going to be from the reviewer side of things, because what can sometimes happen is with the first game that's polarizing, they hand it out to reviewers that are very mixed. Some people love it, some people hate it. And that's what we saw with the original Death Stranding, like an 82 on Metacritic, user scores in the 7s. It just wasn't, it wasn't overwhelming like critical acclaim. It did well. It was generally positive, as they described there. But what happens with the sequel is often they can assign it to reviewers who liked or connected with the first game, and then, that's naturally going to breed higher review scores. But what's really particularly interesting about this is that a lot of people who are reviewing it that didn't like or didn't love maybe the first game are finding it much, much better. Jake Baldino, the one and only from GameRanks, said, I like Death Stranding 2 more than the original. Starts off feeling samey, but quickly reveals fun gameplay improvements that I think big fans will dig. The story is mostly paced much better than the OG. Sam is cooler, has more agency, crazy stuff happens. Nice and weird, just how we like it. Another Death Stranding 2 note, if you thought Death Stranding 1 was boring or just a walking sim, once again, this one ain't for you, lol, and that's okay. Deliver the test subject kangaroo to the animal shelter. Yeah, it's a Kojima game. Delivering kangaroos, ladies and gents. That's what we're doing. Yeah, and this is perhaps the bigger thing to remember also with reviews when we discuss them. A Metacritic score is not like this overarching ultimate grade, like objectively on what this product, where it stands in terms of quality. That's not what a Metacritic score is. That's not what a review is. What you should instead look at them as is like, for people who like these kinds of games, this is where it sits, okay? For people who like games like Death Stranding, as if there's a ton of them, but if you like these types of games that are really artsy, kind of bizarre, walking sims, delivery games, if you like that, it's like a 9 out of 10 for you. That's how you should think about it. It's the same with like Elden Ring. If you hate FromSoft games and you hate difficult combat systems and stuff like that, Elden Ring getting an amazingly high Metacritic score does not mean, therefore, that you will like it. You might actually end up liking it if you try it, and maybe that's what gets you into it. But it means for people who like that kind of game, this is what they'll think of it. And so if you thought that like the original Death Stranding just wasn't for you, this probably is not magical. It's not going to like change your mind, which is something we've been saying for weeks. Like, it's more Death Stranding. It's just better is what it seems to be. And now you can deliver kangaroos. I think kangaroos is the plural. Kangaroo. So there's that. There's also other things that we'll see more of in the individual reviews. As Gene said here, Death Stranding 2 also greatly streamlines its menus, no longer needing to have hard confirms for moving packages in and out of vehicles. You can drive vehicles without emptying floating carriers. You can pick up items while driving. Monorail makes moving loads easy, and the MP3 player rules. Just across the board, it seems like it's just a very, very, very streamlined Death Stranding, which if you like Death Stranding is great. But if you hated the first game, nothing's really going to change here. But let's see the actual individual reviews and look at these a little bit more closely. So our first review is coming from VGC. Death Stranding 2 review. Hideo Kojima delivers an all-time great sequel and one of his best. Their greatly improved follow-up delivers on the concept the original promised. So with Death Stranding on the beach, the studio has made a sequel that significantly improves on the original in virtual every way, with a stunningly designed world, greatly expanded gameplay and player choice, and one of Hideo Kojima's most compelling narratives, and a cast of characters to date. Death Stranding 2 delivers on the core concept the original game promised in a package that admirably balances Kojima's Hollywood sensibilities with top-notch action and unmatched atmosphere. It's undoubtedly one of the best sequels in recent memory and arguably one of Kojima's best ever games. It's a big statement. High praise indeed. On the Beach is once again a story of a lone courier traveling across a hostile land to reconnect the world. Following the conclusion to the first game, Death Stranding 2 begins with Sam Porter Bridges attempting to start a quiet life in the Mexican wilderness with his infant companion Lou, now a playful toddler, as they attempt to live out their new lives together as parent and child. Unsurprisingly, the domestic peace doesn't last long, and soon old colleague Fragile, but not that fragile, comes knocking on his door, and it's time to connect another continent through the means of package delivery. Of course, naturally, how else would you do it? Death Stranding 2 takes place roughly a year after the first game, with America connected to the chiral network, a sort of futuristic internet designed to connect cities following the apocalyptic Death Stranding event. Fragile has established a new company, Drawbridge, which aims to extend these connections to other countries, starting with Mexico. And this was like the most obvious way to turn up the dials and like do a sequel, was to just take you to different climates, different environments. And they're starting with Mexico, as you can see, and it offers you the chance to have a lot more variability in environments. Because in the base game, like, you had the sort of Icelandic tundra and you had the snowy mountain area. But that was largely it. You know, it was very samey, which I think is part of the reason a lot of people started to burn out. There's one point, was it chapter 3? There's one chapter in Death Stranding that just never ends. It just keeps going and going and going. And I've had some friends that fell off of it right at that point because it does just start to get really samey. And, you know, you can't really blame them if it gets too repetitive for you, that's fine. But I think having a lot more variability in the environments is going to help a lot. Even just seeing the difference between like this shot and then like this shot. Okay, we're doing something very differently. There's a lot more variability up in here. I'm excited to see it. Let's see what else. Sam agrees to help Fragile connect Mexico. I don't really want to hear much more story stuff. Okay, so while some of the more esoteric edges have sanded down and Kojima's usual on-the-nose approach to characters and storytelling may roll some eyes, Death Stranding 2 is otherwise a much better written, well-paced, and overall more enjoyable story than the predecessor. This is what I've been hoping to hear. Like, yes, he still is going to have characters named Stand on Floor Man and Opens Door with Hand Dude. Like, he's going to have, some bizarre names and characters like that, I'm sure. But if the actual like individual bits of the narrative are better, I'm in for it. Because again, where I fall off of Kojima's stuff with Death Stranding specifically was with the writing, was with the monologues. I just couldn't deal with it. It really, really frustrated me. But seeing them specifically say it's much better written, much better paced, and an overall more enjoyable story, that gets me intrigued. Kojima says Death Stranding 2 is a much weirder game, and tonally it feels much more like a campy sci-fi action movie than the obtuse, somber dread of the first, though an early story event sets high emotional stakes for Sam and the player. Death Stranding 2 is broadly less pro-faced story, or less po-faced, I don't know, with Kojima freeing himself to explore more fun and interesting ideas, having established the stakes of the universe in DS1. Drawbridge operates from Colossal Floating Base, the DHV Magellan, which is helmed by Tarman, George Miller, Marty Roan, and can teleport around the world map by riding the paranormal tar currents manifested by the Death Stranding event. Having a consistent base of operations allows for some compelling character interactions, and Death Stranding 2 is full of personality in ways the original was not. I think that this was also one of the really jarring things about the original game, was that it's all about connecting the world, but the world felt so dead and unworthy of saving. Like even when you do cross a continent and you connect, one of the last stations, you go talk to the farmers and you connect the farmers up to the network and everything, or you go up and the spiritualist up in the mountains, you go connect her up to the chiral network, and you're only ever talking to like a floating hologram. And even then they're like very stiff. They have a few lines of dialogue, but there's not a whole lot of connection there. There's not a whole lot of interaction. So it made the whole world feel very empty, hollow, and kind of, I don't know, just empty, lonely perhaps. But seeing that they're, with this base of operations where you can have more consistent character interactions, I think that's going to help a lot. For a start, Sam now has a new companion, Dahlman. Remember what I was saying about like Stand on Floor Man? He's a man trapped inside a puppet. That talking puppet, yeah, his name is Dollman. He travels on Bridges' belt and drops occasional wisecracks and commentary. Dude, there is no way this was not a direct inspiration from God of War 2018 with crap, what's his name? Oh God, why can I not remember his name now? The head on Kratos' belt. What the hell is his name? Mimir, thank you. I cannot believe I could not place it. Thank you, Samaya. Yeah, Mimir. I'm sure that was kind of the inspiration for this. Have a talking companion with you all the time. It's a good way to constantly have banter back and forth, which is why so many games do it. During gameplay, characters will even send you a text and picture messages, adding further to a layer of optional narrative. Oh, that's kind of cool. Kind of like Cyberpunk or Spider-Man 2 did that. Spider-Man 2 did it really annoyingly, though, where they're like, welcome to my podcast. Let's talk about stuff. It was really annoying. Anyway, important plot moments are far better paced than the original, with new ideas and twists coming thick and fast. Viscously, dare I say. And frequent introductions to new characters. In a smart and welcome tweak, dialogue trees have been introduced, making deeper story exposition optional. And there's even an in-game wiki, which players can consult at any time, even during cutscenes, to double check lore references. This right here sounds fantastic. That sounds great. Because, like, again, the first game, if he wanted to tell you something about the world, it was a 15-minute cutscene, and then he sends you 15 emails, and you need to read all the emails in the game menus to understand everything. But if it's just tied to dialogue branches and stuff, I like that way better. Because the people who want to learn about the world can do that. The people who just want to do the delivery, they can do that. They don't need to bother with it. I'll have to see what the in-game wiki is like. One of the recent ones I really liked and appreciated was Avowed. Let's see if I can find just a screenshot of it. Because what Avowed did is they had, whenever you would talk to somebody, yeah, this is an example of it. Open image in new tab. Here, you remember in like in Avowed where they'd have this thing where there would be certain like bolded words or underlined words and things where you could then pull up and press a button, hide dialogue, history, and lore. And then you could see in the dialogue you just engaged with, you could just go and find the reference. Oh, wait, who was Abaddon? Or what is that? Okay, and then you can pull it up and read it in the list, and it explains what it is. Wadika, what is that? Also known Burn Queen, Strangler, Oathbinder. Okay, is the goddess of justice, and then you understand what's going on. I love this kind of thing to just quickly give you a chance to be reminded of that lore stuff, and I wonder if it's like this or if it's closer to just an in-game kind of like list of, or glossary, I think is what a lot of games call it. But either way, I think that's an improvement. That's good. And so begins another game about delivering parcels and connecting humanity. While the difficulty of doing so and the novelty of the game's buckaroo-style cargo system have faded since the original, the peaceful, almost relaxing menial task of moving things from one place to another remains. And that's what I've always liked, is that you can just kind of turn your brain off and deliver packages. I get that a lot of people hate that. I get that. Like, I understand it, but I've always found it somewhat relaxing. You turn on a movie or a TV show on the second monitor, and then you just deliver packages. You know, you just do the thing. And of course, when you hit main story stuff, you have to pause the store or pause the show, and then you pay attention to the story. But when you're just hiking through a mountain or down a valley and delivering a package, you just turn your brain off and you just kind of do, you know, it's a good junk food game in that way. What makes Australia a significantly different prospect to connect than the US is its inhabitants. You mean all the monstrous animals and things? While combat was an afterthought of the first game, though given more prominence in the director's cut release, action is far more inherent to Death Stranding 2. Threats, both human and otherwise, will quickly complicate your routes, and an improved combat system is the player's way of dealing with them. Gunplay feels much improved, stealth and non-lethal options are more fleshed out. Yes, the specter of Solid Snake hangs around every enemy base that you take out silently, but this isn't a MGS tribute act. It's easily one of the best playing Kojima games to date, with the player's autonomy greatly expanded. Exploration is also more entertaining, with a plethora of dynamic events introduced that players, or force players, to think on their feet. Earthquakes can occur, knocking you off balance and causing rock slides. Timefall can now flood rivers, making them more dangerous to cross. Sandstorms drastically reduce visibility, make you slower or faster depending on wind direction. And bushfires scorch through vegetation, creating a dangerous roadblock. The biggest improvement to Death Stranding 2's gameplay, however, is in how it empowers players to approach challenges in their own style. There's a far greater variety of objectives here, and more optional paths for the player. The main story may task you with clearing armed militia soldiers from a town stealthily or guns blazing, tracking the footsteps of a lost ally, or even escorting an injured kangaroo to an animal shelter. Speaking to other reviewers, it was striking how different our approaches were to tackling objectives, and that's clearly something Kojima Productions has set out to facilitate with On the Beach. You can sneak, traverse, or strap 2 machine guns onto your truck and fly in at 60 miles per hour. It's up to you. This is a walking simulator or a chaos simulator.
Will donated $10 through Super Chat. Hey Luke, I would really enjoy it if you could react to a first impressions video on BL4 and speak on your experience compared to his. Can I DM you the channel name?
Yeah, or post the link in the Discord, because you're in there, right? Just post it in there. I think that's a good spot. Yeah, we can check that out. So it's interesting that they're also speaking to other reviewers. I wonder if this is other reviewers within VGC or not. I don't know. I typically try to stay more isolated when I'm reviewing stuff and not talk to people. Like, If you run into one example, for instance, going back to Avowed, my time with Avowed was so buggy, it was disastrous. Like I could barely get the game running. And if you haven't seen my review of it, I show the footage of it. It was really bad. I absorbed all of the bugs everybody on the planet had, for everybody. It's just, I'm a bug magnet. What can I say? But they had a Discord server where like we could coordinate with the tech team at Obsidian and try to fix bugs and overcome them. And so in that case, like, I chatted with other reviewers who were trying to get around their own technical issues, but that's typically the extent of it. Like, hey, I think I hit a soft lock. Have you guys found a fix or a way around this yet? And like, that's what you'll do. But I wonder, I don't know. It's interesting to hear them say that they were talking with other reviewers. During one late mission, I was tasked with traversing from the top of the map to the bottom. As I took on the mission, I was warned that my cargo was extremely delicate and I had to overcome a dangerous enemy base. Now, you could methodically take out everyone in the base, then load up a truck with delicate cargo and slide down the hill. However, I had just spent several hours on an arduous hike, during which I almost died multiple times. I wanted to let Sam's hair down, so I loaded up one floating crate with the cargo, attached another. I stood on the empty crate, aimed to the bottom of the hill, and flung myself towards it at top speed. It was hilarious, strangely majestic, and a perfect example of how frictionless this game is compared to the original. Another deviation from the first game is the way the game handles BTs. These ethereal, terrifying creatures from the original are far less prominent, and outside of a few main missions can almost be entirely avoided. Sam is also very well equipped to handle them from the beginning of the game, so the innate terror that they have instilled is largely gone. Which is also interesting because in the trailers, I feel like they also had a large presence, but they're describing how they've largely moved away from it. So that's interesting. When you, and if you choose to, encounter BTs, however, they're often, this is weird. When you, and if you choose to, encounter BTs, however, they're often in the form of more dangerous variants that actively patrol and search for the player, like Metal Gear guards, which is far more compelling than the invisible minefields of the original. The original minefields of just floating BTs, they have to sever their umbilical cords with your, whatever, I forget what they called them. That was always just kind of tedious, and it was something that I think most players just avoided, you know, instead of actively engaging with it. But this at least seems interesting. Seems a little bit more compelling. As Sam connects Australia, new methods of delivery open up to him. The country has a monorail system that can be rebuilt, which allows the transport of large cargo more easily. Like the first game, the social strand system, which sees players all over the world connect to in-game structures, contributing to in-game structures, has a huge impact and remains one of the best uses of online connectivity in a single-player experience. At the start of the review period, the servers were awash with community-built roads, ladders, and bridges. Only the Soul series is as good at portraying the struggles of other players going through the same toil as you. Conversely, as we approached the end of the game, the servers went down for maintenance, evoking a much lonelier experience. Every road we built ourselves, every ladder, climbing anchor, and bridge was built off our own backs. All of this is in service of Hideo Kojima's best stories. A few other game makers evolve or evoke such a visceral reaction when their storytelling is discussed. While the quirks of Kojima's writing are still appropriately marmite, the cast of Death Stranding 2 are undoubtedly some of his best ever characters. Sam Norman Reedus remains an excellent vessel through which the player explores the world, and his relationship with Lou gives such higher emotional stakes to Sam's second journey than it did the first time. Similarly, Fragile takes on a much larger role in the sequel. Her performance is wonderful throughout, and she performs a lovable triple threat with Rainy and Tomorrow. The crew is rounded up by Tarman, Heartman, and Sam's constant companion, Dollman. Dollman hangs off Sam's hip throughout his journey and offers insight into the world, context about the areas you're exploring, and some comic relief. He's also animated at half the frame rate as everyone else, which gives an impressive puppet effect. Dollman is also practical. Sam can throw him high into the sky to provide an overview of the dangers that lurk ahead, or to scout an enemy base. Dude, you just chuck him in the air, and then he like looks around and tells you, okay, that's coming. It's like the Assassin's Creed Eagle stuff, but in this case, you're just chucking a doll into the sky. That's funny. That's funny. I'll give him that. That's funny. Let's see. While we must avoid specifics, Dollman's presence, which initially seems like some comic relief or a somewhat cheesy side character, is expertly paid off in the game's closing act. So he's gonna die is what you're saying. Okay. Where Death Stranding's, or maybe he's connected to the Snake character, I don't know. Where Death Stranding felt so isolating, we were constantly heartened to return to the DHV Magellan to catch up with the rest of the crew. Every few visits, the game will reward players with a brief vignette exploring life on the Magellan, like a supernatural soap opera. Gotta love that. I mean, supernatural soap opera.
Monsta_INC donated 16 New Zealand dollars and 99 cents
Thank
through
you.
Super Chat. Appreciate you, fam.
Appreciate you. Thank you, my friend. Much love. Thank you. Very generous. Very generous. Thank you. Okay, these sequences don't always impart important exposition or story progression. They're just a snapshot of fun characters spending time together. Sam has found a family to return to. Some of the best parts of the game are back on the ship, helping Tomorrow come to terms with her new world, or taking a Polaroid of the crew. It also describes how it's visually very, very good. We'll see more about that in the Digital Foundry bit, but yeah, graphically very good, musically very good. The final roundup is an epic, big budget sequel to Kojima's controversial cult classic. It offers a better story, an excellent cast of characters, a beautiful world to reconnect. Death Stranding 2 feels like the product of everything that's happened to Kojima since he left Konami, and it's easily one of 2025's very best. Death Stranding 2 on the Beach is an all-time great sequel and one of Hideo Kojima's best games, with a stunning world, greatly expanded gameplay and player choice, and one of Kojima's most compelling casts and narratives. It significantly improves on the original in virtually every way. And then, yeah, so excellent, adaptable, varied gameplay, one of the best looking video games ever, a stellar cast. Australia is better, bigger, and more lively map than the original. Wonderful soundtrack that feels like Kojima is texting you a playlist, and some animations repeated after 70 hours. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it seems overall very, very positive. So this was VGC's perfect score review. They gave it 5 out of 5 stars, said that it was phenomenal, and of course they love it. It's one of 2025's best. A more kind of middle of the road review is from VG247, and by middle of the road I mean like 8 out of 10, so still a positive review. They still are giving it like a B, you know. In this review they go into a little bit more minutia as to like specifics of gameplay, which is kind of interesting. So for example, the joy of community effort remains strong in Death Stranding 2. There's nothing quite like spending an hour gathering materials for a stretch of road, finally building it and seeing a flood of likes from other players wash over your UI. Going back to prior areas and finding generators, zip lines, watchtowers, post boxes, and more dot the surroundings, make an often lonely game feel bustling. Other players make their own journeys out of sight, but not out of mind. I do, however, wish there were more constructs available here, though. Many big projects you unlock are returning from the original game, and while I understand that pushing too many of these could totally rid the deliveries of their sense of peril, why not make most of the new setting with some variations? In terms of gameplay, this game can feel like a bolt-on to Death Stranding rather than a sequel. I was torn on the foes you find during your time with Death Stranding 2. There's a new antagonist faction, and with them come a handful of new enemies which force you to take more combative approach to missions in which they're present. I think visually these are some of the coolest looking designs we've seen in a Kojima game since the Cobra unit in Metal Gear Solid 3. Crimson red futuristic hazards you can't hope to beat unscathed. But when it comes to the most cinematic moments, there's less variety than I had hoped. I can't write about it at length due to spoilers, but Kojima seemed content to reuse a lot, pulling from earlier in the game or from his prior works. So this guy's saying that there's a good amount of repetition and things that are repeated. The performances are great. Yeah, the story is heavy, bold in its direction, not afraid of throwing the odd gut punch here and there, coming out swinging. Ultimately, playing through Death Stranding 2 was an emotional and utterly enjoyable experience, full of thrills and impossible to put down during its bigger moments. My only negative feeling towards it is it also, unfortunately a big one, that I wish Kojima Productions went further in evolving the sequel from the original. When the story goes to such an extent to explore new grounds, it's kind of a shame that the gameplay feels the need to play it safe. And, this is reiterated with what other people like, we mentioned earlier, Jake's tweet mentioned, which is that if you didn't like the first game, this one won't be for you either. It is Death Stranding. It's better Death Stranding. It's polished up Death Stranding. They're saying it's better written Death Stranding. It's visually stunning Death Stranding, but it's Death Stranding. And if you don't like that, as a thing, as a game. It's okay, but this is not going to magically win you over. It's not going to change your mind on that. It's still weird, insane Kojima stuff, you know. As for the tech side of things, I want to look at a couple of these because, you know, we're not going to watch the whole video. But I'm interested in some of the details about the like dynamic weather and the environmental effects, because again, the reviews that we've so far just been reading mention that graphically this game is freaking stunning. So we're going to check it out. Let's see what they said about it as well.
Welcome, Sam. Please relax and enjoy your stay.
Just that's pretty good. Like, again, I understand some people don't like doing deliveries and stuff, but as a junk food game, as a game I play when I turn my brain off, I could see really enjoying like just vegging out, you know, hiking across the mountaintops.
Crossing the vast expanse, one foot in front of the other, the world stretches out before you. The sky and land mingle at a distance as the sun arcs across the sky above. There's no other games that quite capture the specific feeling of existing alone in such a vast space. It's special and central to the
Starfield.
the very core of Death Stranding.
Totally
The
empty.
original game took place across an Icelandic-inspired take.
Isn't it also funny? Like, I'll let him keep talking and then I'll shut up. But I remember in my brain Death Stranding looking pretty damn photorealistic. And like, you see these shots and the detail's insane. And then you see this and you're like, oh yeah, that looks like a PS4 game, you know? But like in your brain, I remember it looking way better than like the actual footage of it on PS4. But, you know, that's how video games work, is you look back after a few years and you're like, oh, yeah, I guess it wasn't photorealistic after all. It just felt that way at the time.
On a ruined United States. The sequel introduces players instead to Mexico and Australia. The mission to connect one another remains constant, but the experience as you journey through the game is greatly enhanced by increased variety and improved technology. That technology is rooted in the Guerrilla Games Decima engine, which has been deftly utilized by Koji Pro's team to create some truly outstanding dynamic landscapes. The leap here is perhaps not quite on the same level as we saw between the first two Horizon games, but that's only because the original Death Stranding set the bar so high. The first key improvement you might notice stems from fine detail, both near and far, similar to Forbidden West. That is, compared to the original, rock formations, vegetation, and other natural landscape elements hold up very well under scrutiny. The game opens in this gorgeous mountain range with a level of detail reminiscent of Epic's nanite virtualized geometry demos, but is achieved without relying on any such technology. The game is packed full of exceptionally fine detail, building on the already great results from the first game and taking it to the next level. There are still large open fields full of finely detailed stones, rocks, and pebbles, but there's also more variety this time. Deserts, lush forest areas, the ruins of a civilization, and more.
And I'm excited for the actual ruins of stuff, because again, like, I think for me, one of the frustrating things to keep going when I first played Death Stranding back, like, you know, whenever it was 5, 6, 7, Jesus, 7 years ago? Is that really how far back? No, it's 2019, right? So 6. Anyway, when I first played it way back when, it was just really tough to be like, yes, connect the world, Jeff. Where'd I get Jeff? Connect the world, Sam. Connect the world. Do it. Save humanity. Bring us together. And then there's like all of 15 people, like across the entire continent. And it's like, it feels tough
Tyler
to save
Szynski
civilization,
donated
you know, when
$10
it's
through
so
Super
insignificant.
Chat. Coma's writing and cinematography is so silly and over the top. I just think of anime that has bad writing and is utter nonsense. I love it as an anime fan who find the tropes hysterical. MGS did this.
Yeah, well, it's like, I think that's, you have to meet him where he's at. You know, if you go into a Kojima game wanting like gritty, grounded dialogue, you want to feel like you're playing an HBO show, that's just not what you're going to get, you know? And that's, you don't have to like it, but it's just not what you're going to get. Kojima stuff is way weirder. It's way more bizarre. What I do appreciate though, is that it seems like he at least responded to the feedback where a lot of people said, exposition's great. Dumping info about the world is great, but let me choose to engage with it. Cause sometimes I just want to do the delivery. I just want to do the thing I'm here to do. I don't want to be like, okay, I'm doing the deliveries. I'm doing really well. Okay, now I have to sit here for 20 minutes while this character rambles about something. Okay. Whatever. Then you wait for that to end and you keep playing the game. Like a lot of players, they will engage with the exposition when they decide, okay, I want to learn more about the world. And they open the codex and they read some stuff. Or they open the emails in the first game and they read the emails. Or they go and they talk to NPCs and they find out more about the world. But they choose to do it at certain points once they're kind of mentally in that headspace and they want to do that. Just like sometimes you won't feel like engaging in combat. Sometimes you won't feel like stealthing through a long mission. And so you choose deliveries or you choose missions that fit more with what you're feeling at the time. So giving players like branching dialogue options so that they can choose to engage with more exposition or less if they don't want to deal with it right then. That's a good change. That's good. And I hope that it helps with pacing too, because instead of having to stop everything for 20 minutes for just a bunch of exposition, if you want to just continue the ball rolling and you're feeling it, you can just do the main dialogue option, ignore the extra exposition stuff, come back to it later. Hopefully there's a chance to do that, and then you can continue playing. I think pacing is what killed Death Stranding for a lot of people back 6 years ago who tried it. They just got to, again, I think it was chapter 3, but you got to that chapter in Death Stranding where the pacing just dies. Like the game just slows to a crawl out of nowhere. And a lot of people fell off of it at that time. And so I'm wondering if they actually did fix that this time around. The reviews seem generally to be suggesting that it did.
There's definitely a greater sense of progression across this game as you proceed forward. Gaze toward the sky, however, and you'll also spot improvements to the original's Ray March volumetric system. This allows more variety in the cloud formations.
The water also looks way better. Look at that. And can I go up that mountain? You see that mountain? Can you go there? Dude, that's going to be one of the first things I try to do. I'm getting to the top of that mountain. There better be something there. Knowing Sony, there's going to be like an Aloy reference or something, but
generally produces cleaner overall results. The marriage of the two is spectacular, especially in HDR, which, by the way, this entire video is being presented in HDR if you have such a display. But where we really start to see divergence from the original game lies in the more dynamic elements. Things like lighting, weather, and environmental effects all greatly expanded here. For starters, the game now boasts a fully real-time time of day system with smooth transitions between day and night. Watch closely and you'll spot dynamic shadows adjusting in real time according to the sun's position, resulting in some dramatic moments, such as here in the desert where the sun begins to set behind the mountains, shrouding this valley in shadow.
It moves so quickly, that would throw me off.
Or how about in this lush jungle area, the sun begins to peek up between the trees, shining its light through the leaves, creating this beautiful looking scenario. And while we're in this area, I should also note that I like how they handle the shadows in this game. While it can't match ray-traced shadows or anything, the sharpness of the shadow penumbra does seem to vary based on the proximity to the object. Like here in the forest, Sam's shadow is a lot sharper than the more diffuse shadows seen from the trees. Shadows are largely artifact-free throughout the game, which is absolutely critical towards keeping that believability intact. In addition, the game unsurprisingly makes use of screen space shadows for finer details, such as those cast by small plants. It's another example of using well-worn techniques to good effect to create something that does look beautiful while remaining performant. The game's approach to both direct and indirect lighting is visually striking, though, as always, not without limitations. From what I can tell, it relies on a pre-calculated probe-based global illumination system with multiple light bakes corresponding to different times of day. This technique works by placing a grid of light probes throughout the environment, essentially sampling points that store indirect lighting information. These probes then
already like just the quality of the hologram is also way better.
Form how the surfaces nearby are lit, allowing for reasonably realistic bounce lighting without the computational expense of real-time ray tracing, because yes, there is no evidence of real-time ray tracing being used here. But despite that, the overall image remains beautiful and cohesive. You'll find areas where the lighting can fall a little bit short, and it's obviously not going to match a real-time ray-traced global illumination system, but it still looks absolutely beautiful. I'm especially fond of sequences where sunlight filters into these interior spaces, be it within enemy installations or aboard the Magellan, producing a moody atmospheric glow that heightens the atmosphere. What really adds to the game's dynamic feel, however, is the sheer variety of weather effects and how they impact the environment in meaningful ways.
Dude, that just already looks crazy. Like just the water detail as it gets deeper off in the distance. That's wild, dude.
So as with the original, rain and tar continue to play a pivotal role. When caught in the timefall, for instance, thick tar begins to seep up from the earth, enveloping the landscape in a convincing, eerie fashion. The way these phenomena integrate with the gameplay remains one of the game's signature elements. This time, however, water, too, has received a noticeable upgrade, comparable in quality to what we saw with Horizon Forbidden West, albeit with some additional dynamism. A dry riverbed, for instance, might suddenly transform into a raging torrent following a heavy downpour or flash flood. It's not just a visual effect, it directly impacts the traversal and moment-to-moment gameplay. Rushing water also features a robust foam simulation along with floating debris, while calmer bodies of water also behave more realistically.
Shout out robust water sim. Yeah, I mean that just across the board it looks greatly improved. I also see the road, whatever pylon thing there, you can build that off there so you can skip it. All sorts of dynamic weather stuff, the sandstorms. Oh wait, yeah, just look at this.
Surface reflections across water and metal alike utilize a blend of screen space reflections with height field ray marching, helping to reduce the typical disocclusion artifacts you see with SSR. Yes, screen space issues are still present if you go looking for them, for sure, but they're masked more effectively than in many other comparable titles, especially when used on water. On the topic of reflections though, one standout moment involves a fireworks display surrounding the player. The spectacle itself is amazing, with a dense array of GPU-driven particles lighting up the scenery around you. But what's even more striking is that these particles are also reflected across nearby surfaces. This isn't just typical SSR play, obviously. The reflections appear to mirror the particles themselves, resulting in a remarkably consistent and immersive presentation. And yes, all of this runs at a rock-solid 60 frames per second. The particle work then is exceptional. Rain, as in the original, is superbly handled, something you'd expect from a team with roots tracing back to Metal Gear Solid 2 and its iconic tanker chapter.
I'm sorry, it will never not be weird to me to just see the camera pan and see a toddler strapped to his chest. It's just, my brain sees it. It's like, what the, like, it's just weird to me. Okay. I am curious how it integrates this time around compared to like the BBs in the first game. You know, it's going to be interesting, but yeah, the toddler, it's pretty cute to have the toddler in their own Timefall outfit. This is pretty funny. It's just, again, it's freaking weird, dude. It's freaking weird, but that's Kojima for you. It's just bizarre. Oh man, like if you rewound the clocks like 10 years, you know, and you just say, yeah, Kojima, I think he left Konami in like 2015, 16, something like that. So if you're like, hey, Kojima's going to leave Konami, leave Metal Gear behind, basically. And then he's going to come out with a new IP. It's going to be kind of controversial, but it's going to get a sequel in 2025 where you're carrying around a toddler strapped to your chest, because the first game you carried around a baby strapped to your chest. And then you would fight giant tar monsters by throwing your pee at them. It's like, nobody would believe you. It's just crazy. But that's Stranding. I mean, that's Kojima. That's what you get, man. That's what you get.
Rain lashes the environment. Droplets refract light as they strike the virtual lens. And when the action slows down, such as during hand-to-hand combat, These effects continue to animate realistically in slow motion. It's a true visual treat. Beyond the rain, other types of weather and environmental conditions can appear as well. Sandstorms, for instance, generate a towering wall of particulate matter that engulfs the player. As you push through, you're met with fierce winds and poor visibility.
I wonder if the sand has a time fall effect too, or if it just damages the packages, you know? Because like snow, it gave increased time fall penalties. But I wonder if the sand does anything. Maybe not.
It combines volumetric rendering with billboarded sand particles, while Sam's suit accumulates sand in real time. Cross a body of water afterward, and that sand is convincingly washed away.
Dude, I don't know why I love that kind of thing. Like just the little details of collecting sand, and you walk in water up to this point and it rinses that off. That's just freaking cool, dude. Like, that's just cool. I remember seeing a video of GTA 5 in 2013 where Michael walked into the water and he got about like belly deep. And then he comes back out and walks on the beach, and then his belly, like up to there, is wet, and then everything above him is not. And, you know, it's 2013 texture stuff, so it's just basically like a glossier, darker cloth. It's nothing crazy, but it was really cool back then, and to see it more widespread now is awesome. Because I feel like throughout, especially the early PS5 era, all of the focus was on ray trace stuff, so attention to detail with features like this was largely ignored and forgotten. It was just like, whatever, don't think about it. But I love it, man. These little details, they matter, and it's noticeable, and it's freaking cool, dude. It's freaking cool.
It's more than just a visual flourish. These storms impact gameplay as well. You can use them to evade pursuers, for instance, and the wind itself has a physical presence, pushing Sam around and making traversal that much more difficult. There's even a scene where you'll encounter these fire-based effects paired with thick volumetric smoke that gradually fills the air with an impressive cinematic haze. It's deeply
this is the kangaroo mission. Well, there's
atmospheric, and also, again, directly ties into the gameplay. And that's one of the big components with this game, is that all of these cool effects and various systems that are integrated here do actually matter in terms of how you play the game and cross the world of Death Stranding 2.
Well, it's something that Breath of the Wild kind of reintroduced everybody, was the idea that you could have so many interlocking mechanics that can all affect gameplay in different and unique ways. But they can also be visually interesting at the same time. So even just something as simple as going to the cold area on the map in Breath of the Wild, it doesn't just look different, it also has different gameplay effects. Like you need to make sure you're either eating like the chilies that you collect nearby in order to heat yourself up, or you need to dress warmer, otherwise you'll take damage. Like little bitty things like that, where it's not just a visual representation of something cool and different, it also has an effect on gameplay. You know, it's one of those things you see it implemented and you're like, no, duh, that's what you should be doing. But, you know, until then, it's that's just how it is. So across the board, I think it's looking really, really solid. The reviews are all very, very good. But again, key takeaway, if you liked Death Stranding, you will probably love Death Stranding 2. If you didn't like Death Stranding 1, chances are this one also will not be for you. It's still a Death Stranding game. You know, it's not magic. It's going to be more Death Stranding. But if you liked the first game, or even kind of had a good time with it, it's worth checking out. It seems that they've really cranked the dials and they've really taken it up a notch in many, many ways. For me, what's most exciting for me is hearing that they have streamlined the writing. That is personally what gets me excited. That's what intrigues me, because I felt that the dialogue was where Death Stranding largely lost me. I connected with the gameplay. I enjoyed that gameplay loop, but the writing lost me. So hearing that they made improvements there is really exciting, and that intrigues me. I'm excited about that. Yeah. Definitely burning a hole in my wallet for this one. Well, and I believe it goes up tonight. I think Steam said like 9 p.m. Pacific time is when it's going up, I think. So, yeah, I think if you want the early access, you can get into it there. What are your thoughts on early access? I don't personally, like, my ideal is let everybody play it at the same time. I understand for the devs, it's often a way to get a little bit more cash from the diehard fans who want that, and maybe won't find a unique skin that compelling to upgrade to a deluxe edition. So I think that that's part of it. In the specific case of Death Stranding, it can actually weirdly be helpful for the launch day, because in Death Stranding, if you play it like at launch day, there's not a whole lot of the Stranding elements implemented yet because players haven't done it yet. So there aren't a lot of the more dynamically placed elements. You might see what the reviewers placed if it's still in the game, but a lot of the time like games will do full server wipes before launch, so chances are the reviewer items aren't there. So you will likely have a better time with the game if you play it on actual launch day, because all of the early access people will have already placed different items for you to use, which is kind of funny that it works that way. But yeah, if you also want to wait for it to come to PC, I'm guessing a year, it's probably on PC. That would be my guess. I don't have any secret knowledge of that, but that would be my suspicion. So it's looking really good. It's looking good. We'll check it out. I'm gonna play it when it goes up tonight is my plan, and we'll put a video out on the big channel checking it out and giving it a shot. I'm glad to hear that my biggest frustrations have been addressed, and it seems like they've made a lot of improvements there. So I'm here for it. I'm excited for it. We're gonna check it out. Okay, let me see. Did I catch up on all these? Teleporting characters in Death Stranding feels so immersion breaking to me. Why have a walking courier at all when people can teleport? They can teleport, but you can't teleport the items. That's how they get around it. So like they can't transport or teleport big barrels of materials. That would kind of certainly defeat the purpose of the game. But Fragile can teleport him if you feel the need to. In this game, it seems like the way they're doing the teleport fast travel thing is by doing it through the Magellan ship. Just getting around it that way. Death Stranding 1 gun after 10 hours, Death Stranding 2 gun after 1 hour. Yeah, it seems like that's how they're doing it. And they're specifically designing encounters to push you into doing that more. Okay. Where did my tab go? Also, are you guys ready for a little bit of brain rot just to help you? You want just a little brain rot? I always bring this to stream just so you can have a little bit of brain rot. Something that pops up in my TikTok feed. I will always show it to you. Are you ready? We got Bigfoot.
Bar from Dr. Squatch. I tried it. It's cool, I guess. It's not really for me though. Kind of mid.
So, like, anyway, earlier I was just...
Hey, what happened to the Sydney Sweeney soap bar?
I don't know what you mean. I didn't even use it. Anyway, so, like...
So I might have gone a little overboard. It's the Sydney Sweeney one. Dr. Squatch. Didn't hit it first, but I don't know. It kind of grew on me. If you know, you know. It's not weird.
Bigfoot vlogs. It's here to stay, man. It's here to stay. Or Oregon Trail Influencer Edition. They're using AI to create fake Oregon Trail
It's the year
vlogs.
1848. We just sold the farm, buried Nana, and loaded up the fam and our lives into a homemade wooden box with wheels. Oregon or bust. Hey, Trail fam. Quick update. We've reached the Kansas River, and it is massive. Drop a comment. Should we ford it or caulk the wagon and float? Minor setback. We lost 2 oxen and all our spare wagon wheels. Also, my mother-in-law didn't make it.
Hey guys! Sorry for the lack of content lately. Been dealing with some pretty severe dysentery, but he wanted me to keep the channel going.
Today we're showing you how to treat a snake bite. All you need is a hatchet, a belt, and the courage to scream for 3 straight hours. Let's get into it.
Quick life update. Ezekiel has cholera. Doctors are saying it's pretty bad, but we're manifesting positive energy.
Yeah.
Anyway, we've made it to Fort Laramie. The vibes here are immaculate. Also, we've decided to leave Ezekiel behind because he was like, really...
What's up, Trail Nation? Today we're doing the hunting challenge. I can only carry 100 pounds back to the wagon, but watch me shoot 10,000 pounds of buffalo meat. Martha, hold the camera.
What's up, Trail Army? Martha here with a major life update. The entire wagon train has dysentery, and we're basically living in our own filth.
Hey Trail fam, little update. We are definitely off trail. Haven't eaten in 4 days, but the snow tastes like hope.
So the whole family has typhoid, and Jared broke his leg, but we're... never mind. Jared just died.
Final update. We made it to Oregon. Actually, it's just me. The fam didn't survive for the finale. Like and subscribe for more survival tips.
Dude, I think if they made an entire show of just AI Bigfoot vlogs or historical stuff like that, I think it'd do well. Like, again, I understand a lot of people are very opposed to AI because it takes jobs away from people, and it certainly does. But you better believe your grandma, she's gonna watch that. She's not gonna. She probably can't even tell that that's not real. That none of those people are real. Like, she can't tell. She can't tell. And like 85% of Netflix viewership, 85% of all the people watching these movies and shows, they probably couldn't tell that that's fake. You know, they have no idea, no clue. I guarantee you, in like a solid maybe 2 years, a huge proportion of the content that you see online is going to be stuff like that. It already is massive. It's huge. But I think like a lot of big outlets and like Netflix type channels are going to start really pushing it because it's so cheap, so easy, so quick to make. That probably is just made by one dude, just putting prompts into Veo, and it's that like polished and crazy. So it's going to be very interesting. It's going to be interesting. But yeah, shout out, subscribe for survival tips. But yeah, there's your daily dose of brain rot. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Also, where is it? I have this one. I have this one. Okay. Okay. I also want to see this because apparently staff didn't know about the delay. One of you guys sent me this, that staff didn't know about the delay for Marathon, which is crazy if that's the case. Like, that's insane. Yeah. AI music is awesome too, just for the bizarre titles. Like, I glued my balls to my butthole again. Yeah, well, I there was one guy like talking about AI music. And he's like, yeah, the reason I don't like AI music is because it takes jobs away from actual musicians and stuff. And I'm like, I totally understand that point. But transparently, just being completely real. Like, for our parody songs about Todd Howard, like I don't think I'd be hiring a band to write this and perform it, you know?
I drove my rusty pickup to the local game store door. Starfield gleamed upon the shelf, couldn't wait no more. Todd Howard spun his stories of galaxies afar.
Like, I understand the point.
Oh, Todd, you sold me stardust, but gave me empty skies. Promised me the universe with all your little lies.
But it's stupid. And it's like, if I had to spend thousands to get like a very capable group to make that, like, it'd be fun and it probably would sound way better and be way better. But for quick brain rot content, dude, the AI stuff is pretty good. It's pretty good. Luke, I would form a band to play all these songs for you for just $5. Well, you consider yourself hired. I mean, right there. Yeah, we should have a community band formed, and then everybody comes together and we can do that. That'd be good. Also, we got a new deep dive into Chronos: The New Dawn Combat. Looks like they just dropped this too. This is that new game from Team Bloober Team. I forget which one it is. Yeah, it's Bloober Team. Their new IP. So after they finished Silent Hill 2 remake, they started, or they revealed this. They were working on it before that, of course, but it's their own original IP. And they dropped a little gameplay deep dive. Interesting. If we have time, we'll look at that. But first, I want to see this. I want to see this, because if it's true that they didn't know and this is just coming from on high, I'm very intrigued. At least AI can hear Cartman sing every pop song there is on YouTube. Yeah, I mean, it was that and Plankton from SpongeBob. I heard a lot of covers from him doing like screamo versions of Pink Pony Club and stuff. Yeah, it was a whole thing. The whole thing. Let's see. Newsing me. Bellalard News says Sony execs delayed Marathon indefinitely, which we know, but specifically staff had no idea. One of you guys sent this video to me, and I had not heard that. If it's true, staff didn't know that the game was being delayed until it was revealed publicly. That's crazy. Like, that's wild. You know, but it tells us a lot if that is the case, that staff had no idea and staff didn't know they were getting a delay until the last possible second. That tells me that it's coming from on high. Because, for example, back when Assassin's Creed Shadows was delayed from Valentine's Day, February 14th, to March, when it would eventually launch, the employees, the team at Ubisoft didn't know it was being delayed until like when it dropped publicly for everybody, whenever that was, in like January or whenever they revealed that. So, you know, it can happen sometimes, basically, when an executive is like, okay, nope, delay it. He makes the call, they delay it, put it publicly, and then everybody finds out at the same time. But in this case, it would be particularly crazy because Bungie's not like this. It's not 20,000 employees like a Ubisoft, you know, it's not on that scale. So you'd think that people would be aware of it. But anyway, let's see what he says.
On the inevitable has just happened. PlayStation and Bungie finally admitted what everybody already knew. Marathon is not ready, and it will not release in 3 months. Even before the plagiarism scandal, even before the alpha test, people doubted the September release date. It just felt wrong. And not just out of reflexive hate. This game had been marred in controversy. Bungie had been marred in controversy for years and years. But now,
and it's got to be very much reiterated. Like, the stolen art stuff is bad. But before that, everybody kind of agreed it needed to be delayed. It didn't have enough content. It didn't have enough variety. It didn't have, like, it just wasn't ready. It wasn't ready. And then all that stuff happened. So it just needed more time. It wasn't, you know, even the hardcore fans, the people who literally made YouTube channels and X accounts and TikTok pages and stuff dedicated to Marathon in the hopes it becomes like a Tarkov, it becomes a Destiny level thing. Even those people were like, it needs more time. It needs more time. So this is not, again, like something people are saying out of a deep-seated hatred for Bungie. It's, even the fans have been saying it since before all this really started going down.
Companies are facing reality. After endless streams of concern, they have admitted that the player's voice was, quote, strong and clear. And the upshot is that Marathon is now indefinitely delayed. Marathon's reveal 2 months ago started a fairly unbelievable string of problems. Now, on the surface, the reveal did look slick, polished, a new art direction, a very artistically yummy trailer, and yes, a new entry into the extraction gameplay genre. But audiences were immediately divided. Number one, they didn't recognize this new Marathon from the Marathon that they knew from decades ago. This felt like quite the miscalculation, but it's one that was compounded.
I'm also, maybe I'm in the minority here. I think the number of people who played the original Marathon decades ago, that number of people is so small. I just really don't think it's that like big of a deal that it's not that similar. Maybe I'm wrong for that. I just genuinely don't see it as a big deal. Like, yeah, it doesn't really look like that game from decades ago that very, very few people who are going to be playing Marathon played. Like, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I understand why it's brought up. I understand, hey, it's called Marathon, but it doesn't look anything like the OG games. I get that. I just don't think it's that big of a deal, personally.
On because Bungie wasn't building this game for existing extraction fans. We'll certainly get on to how they felt soon. Now then came the closed alpha, the purely American alpha with heavily restricted codes, all despite many people wanting in. Pretty odd. Then the players...
Yeah, they had like 450,000 people in their Discord server that you had to enter into to get a chance to get one of the codes. So I saw people bringing up like Steam concurrent player counts and stuff and be like, oh, it's dead. Dude, there were hundreds of thousands of people that wanted in that couldn't get in. They just wouldn't let them. So I don't put much stock into like, oh, the closed alpha playtest had only this many players. Like, it literally, like, what are we doing? You know, there were a lot more people who wanted to try that didn't get the chance to.
Who did get in, well, they found that something was off. PC players were outraged at mandatory aim assist.
Only going to ruin the PC part of the game. You're just watering down PC. You're making PC and mouse and keyboard players basically feel like shit.
Bungie later removed it. The hero kits were kind of interesting, but they didn't feel balanced and they didn't feel fully developed. PvE elements did get some praise, but there were missing genre standards, and they got brutalized for that. No solo mode, no proximity chat. So if you were a diehard Extraction fan, this game was really not trying to woo you over.
Well, and their excuses for it were weird. Like the solo thing, I think honestly their excuses for that were fair. They said this is a hero-based game. We have a stealth character. And so when we tested solo queues, everybody ran the stealth character and nobody did anything for the entire match. And when we asked those players to rate it on like a level 1 to 10 in fun factor, it rated very, very poorly. So we decided not to do it. I would say they should figure out a way to make it fun instead of just giving up on it, and that seems to be what they're doing now. But I thought that at least made sense. With the proximity chat, they straight up said that they were afraid of the toxicity, and that's why they didn't do it. And like that's a dumb reason. That's just dumb. You know, it's like it wasn't, oh, it's a technical concern, or oh, it's about balance. No, they said we're worried about toxicity. I'm like, bro, just if somebody doesn't like it, they turn it off. Like, we're adults, dude. This game, I think it does have an M rating. It might. I don't understand how these like 40-year-old men and women can be like, we're worried it's going to hurt your fifis, so we're not putting it in the game. Like, shut up. Come on, dude.
And that was quite strange. It was a game that didn't look like its IP, entering a genre, but not specifically for players who actually like that genre, which, you know, would appear to be quite risky. Now, of course, the Bungie strength is bringing things to new audiences, but the closed nature of the testing meant that casual players, masses of casual players, couldn't discover if they liked the game. And then it got worse. Arc Raiders, another extraction shooter long in development, had a closed beta, and it went viral. If you're wondering why, it's because it had all the features that Marathon didn't, plus a heap of polishing. And then on top of all of that, the plagiarism hit. An artist accused Bungie of ripping off her designs. Bungie reviewed the claim. They admitted that it was true, that specific assets were in fact stolen. They promised to make it right with that artist. They blamed somebody who had left during pre-production, but with the broad years-long narrative going against the studio, especially the studio's leadership, and the specific narrative around Marathon going very bad very fast, it was quite brutal. The art director, Joe Cross, really did become public enemy number one for many people, and that meant that when he went onto this stream, it was a very awkward situation.
Dude, that really was tough to watch. That one was really tough to watch, because this guy, Joe Ziegler, game director, he came on to the team after like they had done all of this. So after the art stuff had happened, according to their story, that artist left the company. He never met them. He never saw them. So he, like the art theft stuff, he has nothing to do with. And then also he's just trying to make the best with the limited amount of time they have. And they apparently haven't had much. So I do feel bad for Joe. As for Joseph Cross, I haven't met this guy. He wasn't at the playtest thing that we did. They had a different artist on their team do his presentation for him. He just wasn't there for some reason. Across like 2 days that they did that. But yeah, man, it was tough to watch. This was a tough stream to watch. And the fact that they still had to do it was insane. They did a developer play MA. Ask us any questions about the game, we'll answer them. And this is like a day or two after the scandal drops. You can tell they haven't slept a wink. It's been keeping them up all night. Years of work about to go down the drain. Like, they feel horrible, they look horrible, and they were still forced to go on and do this stream. And it's just like, again, the executive leadership is insanely bad.
The plan had been to show gameplay and discuss Marathon, but Well, they had to do a review of all of their assets. And with this drama happening, they basically couldn't show any gameplay. That just led...
Yeah, it's not the first time for Destiny that they've been accused, but like there were some other ones, like I think the Nerf gun, they said that was a Hasbro issue, I believe. So there's been other things associated with Destiny and with Bungie when it comes to like art theft stuff. So I don't think that's the first time, but this is probably the first one that's like so ridiculously clear where it's like it's literally in the game. They can't say it was the toy company. They can't point the finger elsewhere, you know.
To a very awkward, very painful looking stream. One where Bungie staff...
Well, and that's what made it even weirder is that this was supposed to be a Play MA where they show gameplay to answer questions about the game. But because of all of this art stuff, they didn't use any gameplay footage because they were scrubbing it of all of the assets. And so they just kind of sat there and talked about the game. It was so awkward. They should have canceled it and people would have understood. The fact that they were forced to go on camera was just so weird.
Couldn't say anything about Marathon's development or how they would fix this newest problem, let alone the various other problems. And all of this in a world where Marathon was supposed to launch in September, just months away, which was never going to happen. Nobody in the public by that stage expected that it would hit its release date, and now the inevitable has thankfully finally happened. Now that we've got the lightning summary of how we got here, let's talk about the delay. So yes, it's delayed. Bungie gave no new release date, and in this Bungie.net update, they said they won't even talk publicly until later this fall. So it essentially seems that the old release date is in fact going to be the release date of a potential release date, or perhaps the release date of a potential release window, pending, you know, changes and stuff. And it's all...
Yeah, and this is why it's kind of important to understand whether this decision was coming from on high at Sony and Bungie people didn't even know about it until the last second, or if it came from Bungie. Because it could be that Bungie negotiated something where they're like, hey, we need more time for this. We just straight up do. We will sacrifice this and this and this. We'll take money from our Destiny 2 budget. We'll put it over here. That might be part of it. If it's coming from on high, from like Sony, and Sony is the one footing the bill, and Sony's like, you're going to get more time, but we're going to fix this and you got to figure it out. Then I think it's more likely in the fall they announce that they're releasing like in December or in January, and it's going to be a pretty tight turnaround. Either way, I don't think that they are buying themselves a ton of time. Like some people have said, okay, they're going to push it to like 2027 and add a single player campaign. No. I do not think that's happening here. I think what happens is that they add a couple more of these quality of life features. They probably add some more loot stuff. They tweak some UI stuff. They probably get the ranked mode figured out and probably solo queues and prox chat. I think that is about the extent of it, and that's what the game is going to be. I don't think they're going to be doing anything totally insane. People are saying, oh, they're going to pivot to a single player game. No, they're not. That's not how this works.
Also, when we're going to get a progress update. And as for the progress that's going on, they outlined changes for 3 core areas that are all designed to address alpha criticisms. First, upping the survival game. So they're making the PvE and PvP more challenging and more rewarding.
Let's see. We've talked about this before, so I don't want to necessarily rehash all of that.
Why keep it secret? Well, if they improve all of the other things, then perhaps everything else will fall into place. So, Bungie's developers are going to have a lot of work to do. They're thankfully going to get many more months to do that work than planned. But here's an interesting detail. According to Paul Tassi's sources, Bungie's staff found out about the delay at the same time that we did.
I didn't see this tweet from Paul Tassi. Most of Bungie found out about the marathon delay right now. So according to Paul's sources, they found out, a lot of people at the studio found out, but not everybody. Not everybody. Let's see. Most of Bungie found out about the marathon delay right now. Woof. Woof, dude. Maybe tone down the hero shooter aspect. How do you tone that down? Like, it's either a hero shooter or it's not. Like, you know, like, how do you do that? I don't think you can. I think it's either a hero shooter or it's not a hero shooter. And I think for them, it is a hero shooter, so that's what they're doing. You know, and at this point, to walk that back and to change it would take so much time and be so transformative. It's just, it doesn't make sense. A sidekick shooter? An NPC shooter. Man, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. I don't know, man. I think that makes me think that probably it was coming from on high, which is funny because Herman was pretty insistent that they were doubling down on it. They were confident in it, like a couple of days before. He didn't act like they needed a delay.
We saw their investor presentation. One thing is crystal clear. PlayStation is taking Marathon very, very seriously. It filled multiple slides in their recent investor presentation and their fireside chat. They framed
Oh my God, I forgot about this slide.
multiple
Look at
slides
this.
in their recent investor presentation and their
It kind of gives you an idea. So track record of growing game IP into franchises, okay? So franchise lifetime engagement, hours. The metric is hours, okay? It's why I've said a lot for these companies, they care about playtime, because playtime is the stats are pretty clear. Like if you have high playtime hours and hour counts, players will be more willing to spend money or more money on that IP. So if they spend 100 hours playing Uncharted, they are more likely to pay, say, $70 or $80 for Uncharted 5 because they've shown that they're really connected to the IP. If they spend less hours, that indicates that maybe they're not as into the IP, they're not as supportive of it. So typically gameplay hours directly correlate to willingness and capacity to spend. Historically, that's the thing. It's why games it's why companies like Xbox, Game Pass pays out for most contracts based on hours played. So if you put your game on Game Pass, you might get a signing bonus, you might not. It just depends on case by case basis. But how developers get paid is by the hours you spend playing their games. So if you spend 200 hours playing a little 3-hour indie game, they make a lot more money probably, I would guess, than if you bought that game on Steam for $5. That it's way more profitable to them there, because again, hours and engagement time is the key thing they're looking for. And here they're showing a lineup of their IP and the IP that they've been able to grow into enduring franchises. And you can see Horizon, the thing that Herman pushes so fervently, is lower on their chart. This is as of March 31st, 2025, but it's lower on the list. Uncharted's up here. This includes all of the games in the franchise, okay? So they have Horizon Zero Dawn, Forbidden West, Call of the Mountain, the VR game, and Horizon Adventures, which is the Lego game. Uncharted here with 1, 2, 3, and 4. They don't have the Lost Legacy as part of this, which is interesting. I would have thought that they would, because that's a spin-off standalone game, but apparently they're not including it. The Last of Us Part 1, Part 2, remastered, and then just the plain Last of Us. I'm guessing maybe the show? No, okay, I guess it's the first. So they're just bundling all of that. Okay, so first game, remaster the first game. The second game, the remake of the first game. There you go. Destiny's up there. Spider-Man's up there. Gran Turismo is up there, the show is up there, and God of War majestically caps all of it. It's much bigger franchise than some of these other ones. It's had many more entries, but God of War is certainly a big deal for them, certainly. And then they have their emerging IP, Astrobot, Helldivers, and Ghost. They're hoping to develop these IP into one of these behemoths. It's interesting because I think a lot of people already think of Ghost as being one of those big IP, but they don't, I think, track it the same way. They don't interpret it the same way. Helldivers 2, this is a weird one because it's an emerging IP for them, but the company Arrowhead, they've already said their next game is not going to be partnered with Sony. So yes, it's a Sony game right now, but like I don't think that this is, they're not buddying up with the developers long term. They are kind of doing their own thing now. How does Sony track PS2 hours? Great question. I don't know. They may just be guesstimating or something. I don't know. Going based off of units sold. Might be looking at backwards compatibility stuff. I have no idea. But yeah, that's a great question. Astrobot, they obviously want to put a lot of effort into Astrobot. It didn't sell an insane number of copies. I think it sold like, 1.5 million or something. But it won Game of the Year last year at the Game Awards. So they obviously want to give more attention to that, even though it's not a commercial heavy hitter in the same way as some of these others. And then new IP, you can see that they list Marathon, and fair game $. That's what they're betting on. That like these are their emerging IP. And they're showing this in the same slide as like MLB The Show, God of War, Gran Turismo, Destiny, Last of Us, Spider-Man, Uncharted, Horizon. And then they're putting fair game $, and Marathon next to those. You know, like maybe. But still, didn't they ditch the $? Well, they did, but then in this artwork, it still is there. So what they're doing is they now are saying it's fair games. So, and in one picture I saw, they redid the logo where it was just an S, and so it was just fair games without the $. I seriously think it's because people have been making fun of it, calling it fair game $. Sorry. And so they are trying to rebrand it. It's not my fault. You put a $sign in a game being published by a multi-billion-dollar company that's all about eating the rich. Like, yeah, we're going to make fun of you. It's really out of touch. I'm sorry. But yeah, they have others in development. Yeah, where's Concord? Also a great question. If this slide were presented a year before, Concord would be right here. But they, dumped that pretty quickly. So anyway, but this is why it's important to understand these slides, not just on what's being shown clearly, but it really betrays the intention and the vision that they have. Their goal and what Herman thinks is possible is to get Fair Games and Marathon in this list. He thinks it can compete up in the same echelon as Destiny, Gran Turismo, and The Show. And I mean, maybe... But man, I am not seeing it. Same with Fair Games. Like maybe, but I think like these are stretches, I love Helldivers. Helldivers is really, really good. I wouldn't put it up in this category yet. Maybe one day, but it's not quite there yet, dude. Like, that's why it's emerging. I guess we can say that.
Their fireside chat. They framed Marathon.
Sorry. Herman.
Repeatedly as core to next fiscal year plans.
So building foundation and strengthening capabilities, establish a portfolio of successful live service titles. You can see fiscal year 21, The Show, Destiny 2 in 22, Helldivers 2 in 2023. Marathon was supposed to launch at the end of fiscal year 2024. We all know kind of how that went. And then they also, again, have Fair Games listed here as well. There are others they're working on. We know that they're working on a Horizon online game. We know that they're working also on a Horizon MMO that is being developed by a separate team. So they will have an online game that's basically, it's rumored to be basically Monster Hunter, but Horizon. And then it mixed with like Fortnite, Sea of Thieves art style. And then we also know that they're going to be doing this like MMO. I don't know if it's going to play like a Dune or if it's going to play like New World. Like I have no idea, but they're doing that. So they have 2 Horizon things in the works too that will presumably be going a little further down this list. But yeah, this is their vision. This is what they're putting billions of dollars into.
That means any point between May 2025 and April 2026. So I guess that's your very, very big launch window. And they positioned it as developing IP, right alongside the Ghost series and Astrobot. And they positioned it as...
Foundation established a leading position in this console generation, which they did. They've sold way more consoles than everybody else. Single player and creative leadership and consistent delivery. They have delivered high quality games. Astrobot, high quality, not like a game I'm going to be, writing essays about or anything. Like it's a good game. I understand why it won Game of the Year, but I mean, it's not personally my pride and joy, my love, my flame, my muse. Ghost of Yotei, I'm very excited to see how that turns out. Live services built foundation and strengthening capabilities. Helldivers 2 has been performant. Marathon, though, again, I don't think you can interpret it as anything but a colossal disaster so far. Capitalize on momentum to drive profitable growth and evolve the PlayStation experience. Portfolio of leading and recurrent single-player and live service games franchises, expand franchise reach to PC, TV, movies, anime, and location-based entertainment, continued financial discipline to strive operating leverage while investing in IP, operations, publishing, and technology. Main takeaways: they need consistent live service releases paired with consistent single-player releases, and they want to breach further into PC, which is the first one they list: TV, movies, anime, location-based entertainment. So they want to continue breaking into things like Steam. They want to be doing HBO shows. They want to do spin-off movies. They want to do stuff like that, which we're already seeing, and they're just saying they're going to continue focusing on it and doubling down on it.
As developing IP, right alongside the Ghost series and Astrobot. They also call out strong early engagement for Bungie's bold and innovative new title.
I'm sorry, we talked about this in my video initially on this news. This is like freaking hilarious to frame Marathon as having strong early engagement. Come on, dude. Like, what are you talking about? Well, yeah, we have strong people are talking about it a lot. Yes, they're saying how much yes, they're saying it looks terrible, and yes, they're saying that plagiarism will make me God. Yes, they're saying this, but like, they're talking about it. Engagement strong. Like, come on, you know what you're doing. This to me is where this isn't just corporate doublespeak. This is on the same level as like Apple claiming that their AI stuff will do certain things that it just can't do. Like, this is just lying, in my opinion. Allegedly, this is just them saying something that is so blatantly twisted. I think it's a lie by omission. Like, it is hilariously deceptive in how it frames this. If I were an investor not familiar with Marathon, I would see this and I would think that engagements were positive and that this was something that has potential. I would not think that this has been a catastrophic disaster. And that's where I start to feel like, okay, we're getting silly. This is also the first time that they've done one of these earnings calls, presentation, fireside chat things where they didn't take open questions. They only did a pre-recorded, pre-selected question thing so that they didn't have to answer any of these questions about Marathon, and they just pretended like everything was okay. It was kind of shameful, in my opinion.
Which is a bloody hilarious statement given all the shit that's happened. But
they say what shareholders want to hear. Yes, but there are also standards. Shareholders who have a lot of money can and will sue companies if the company misled them, because the whole thing in all first world countries that have like any semblance of investment infrastructure is that the company has to be honest with shareholders. Otherwise, they are effectively like defrauding them. It's a major problem. You can't say knowingly something false so that you can profit from the stock going higher. There's been allegations that like Elon has said this about Tesla stuff, where he says like full self-driving is coming out in 2016. If they can prove that he knew that was false when he said it, class action lawsuits out the ass. The problem is for him, like, that was the plan, and then it got delayed, and there were waves of delays, waves of adjustments to the internal schedules, and we still at this point still don't have full self-driving. But that's where the standard, like the standard of evidence is. And that's a separate question from whether it's something that could be sued over or if it's just unethical and slimy. And in this case, I think it's just, it's unethical and slimy. Because they can say, no, engagement that was early was strong. We had a huge number of people talking about the game. We didn't say it was positive. Because they can say that. They didn't say it was positive. They just said engagement was strong, which is true. It's just, it's a lie by omission, right? Well, technically, I didn't say that. I said what was technically true. If you interpreted it the way I wanted you to, that's your problem.
Innovative new title, which is a bloody hilarious statement given all the shit that's happened. But do you notice what they never said? They never said that it launches in September. Bear in mind, this was all weeks before the actual delay would be publicly.
I think, again, it's the framing of this schedule and this chart. They do put it in fiscal year 2024, which I believe ends. I think it already ended. So I don't know. It's confusing. I can understand why people watch this and we're like, okay, so it's not being delayed.
announced. And I think this all suggests something important here. When they put this together for investors, when, say, studio CEO Herman Hulst made his comments, the decision had already been made further up the chain. The evidence? Well, live services and Marathon came up as a standalone question in their pre-recorded chat. And I think it's fair to say that's a chat that is haunted by the ghost of Concord. That's because Hulst framed Concord as, quote, good work and big effort, but also insufficiently differentiated. Which, doesn't sound amazing, but most...
It was interesting. He said that Concord failed because it was not differentiated enough from the competition. Which, whenever you talk about Concord, there's going to be 15 people that are like, it actually failed because the characters looked ugly. And like, that didn't help. But ultimately, I think the primary reasons Concord failed were because it was just another hero shooter that nobody wanted. The competition was already there. And it wasn't that it wasn't just like, it wasn't differentiated enough, because I think it was. Like, it had its own style, it had its own vibe. People were well aware of it. And to borrow a term from PlayStation's own marketing team, it had strong engagement. People talked about it a lot, not positively, but they talked about it a lot. I think ultimately the problem was that it just wasn't a good enough game to justify a premium price point in a highly competitive market. If that's what he means by it wasn't differentiated enough, is that it wasn't good enough, okay. But let's not, twist it. Concord wasn't good enough to compete, because what we saw just after that was what? Marvel Rivals. Marvel Rivals is another hero-based, team-based shooter. Very similar to other games that Concord was compared to, like Overwatch. And it's blown up. It's been wildly successful because it was just a really good game. It just was. It was really well executed. The post-launch support has been amazing. They handled the early launch period really, really well. And, it was very good. It was also differentiated, I guess. But I think, again, whenever I've heard Herman talk about this stuff, it's always framed in this defensive way that preserves either the his feelings or the feelings of investors. Maybe it doesn't matter which it is, but it feels like there's never any truly honest introspection and reflection with it, because I think Concord just frankly wasn't a good enough game to be successful where it was and when it was. I think if they had a lot more launch features, if they had a bigger and more interesting roster, if they had not screwed up the initial reveal, if they a lot of things had been different, if things were totally different, it would have ended up differently. But I just think Concord, it didn't fail just because we struggled to define it as different from Overwatch. That's not why it failed. Okay, it's because it wasn't good enough. Let's be very clear.
Most importantly, he said,
and it's a game nobody really wanted. People initially had the same reaction to Marvel Rivals. They were like, I didn't ask for another Marvel game that's just Overwatch with Marvel characters. But then they saw it, and it actually was a game that was very unique and that they really connected with.
This. We have reviewed our processes in the light of this, to deeply understand why the title failed to meet expectations, to ensure we're not going to make the same mistakes again.
Yeah. We've reviewed our processes in light of this, deeply understand why the title failed to meet expectations, to ensure we're not going to make the same mistakes again. And yet I feel like they're making the same mistakes again. Because again, when he describes the mistakes, he's framing it as it wasn't differentiated enough. It needed to be more different. It needed to be more better. I'm not convinced he truly understands why Concord failed, because the doubling down on titles like Marathon and especially titles like Fair Games, I think betrays a misunderstanding. And the fact, I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited to see this Horizon game actually get revealed, because the Horizon game will either be just another total disaster and it'll be just like, really, you made Horizon Monster Hunter crossing over with Fortnite and Sea of Thieves character designs? What are we doing? And people will lose it and hate it. Or it will genuinely be a really good game and people will eat it up and love it, especially after Monster Hunter Wilds has been going through its own fair share of problems. getting mass downvoted on Steam in the last week or so for bad post-launch support, bad performance, and things like that. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that cookie crumbles. I'm genuinely very excited. I know we poke fun at Jor all the time and like, haha, it's going to suck. We joke about it, but genuinely, I think that they could find success with it. We just have to see if they pivoted. I think if they stuck with that art style that leaked like a year or two ago, they may be in trouble, but we'll see. We'll see. Anyway.
Now, what are those new processes? Well, we can actually see those in Bungie's delay statement. Holst told investors that PlayStation was excited for release. He described the alpha response in very specific terms. We're monitoring the closed alpha cycle the team just gone through, and some of that feedback has been varied, but that's super useful. That's why you do testing. You know what, Herman? Varied is true.
Varied. Again, it just reminds me of Todd Howard when he's like, some people loved Starfield and other people loved it less. It's like, you sly dog. You know what you're doing.
True. It's charitable, but yeah, it's a true way to characterize things. But really what he's doing when he says that is he's selling investors on them making business progress. That as an overall system, Sony are no longer going to do Concords because their systems, the way they run their business, will no longer produce that sort of result. So this tracks. The player engagement idea also resonates here. He talks as well about the validation of assumptions from developers, about test, iterate, test again. And if that sounds familiar, well, that's exactly how Bungie are introducing updates, testing features as they're ready. And throughout the presentation, which we'll dive into more later because, it's a very interesting one theme keeps on emerging, and that's PlayStation leadership being more involved in game release decisions and more involved in development reviews. Why? Well, it's fucking obvious, because they won't let studios take risks like Concord did. There is simply too much at stake. We recently praised...
And this could, and in the past, there's been examples of it going well with some executives being super hyper involved in releases. Like Shuhei Yoshida, when he worked at PlayStation, of course, was very involved. There's the story from the Raising Kratos documentary where Shuhei went and tried God of War in a very early build and gave a ton of feedback, and he was part of the executive team, but he provided a lot of feedback and they worked on it, and that game ended up being phenomenal based on his feedback partially. But unfortunately, there's a lot of other examples also of executives getting really involved in things and just actively screwing them up miserably because they get involved and they think that they need to do things 15 different ways. And it's not just in video games, it's also in the movie space with like Hollywood executives and CEOs trying to get directly involved in the production of different films because they think they know better than the creatives. And so it could work out for them to have Herman sitting in on a lot of these big design decisions, but I don't know, man. Yeah, Shuhei isn't a clown like Hulse. I mean, I think Shuhei Yoshida is genuinely just at his core, he's a gamer and he's a fan who happens to work in gaming. Like when I saw him at Summer Games Fest, he went to like every single damn booth. It didn't matter how small of a team the developers were. It didn't matter if it was a total indie Tetris spin-off game. It didn't matter if it was like a pixel art murder mystery game. He went to every single booth and played them all. And he was having a great time taking pictures with people. He spent days there going to every single booth because he's an actual diehard fan. He loves it. Jim Ryan, I don't think ever touched a gaming controller in his life. And I'm not sure at this point if Herman's even a gamer, except for Horizon games. So I don't know if he's the guy you want making these decisions either, you know? Like, I just genuinely am not sure if he's the one that's going to be able to see the potential or see when there's a problem. Because again, you got to look at his judgment and grade his capability to make these decisions based on his judgment. And there's reporting suggesting that he thought Concord was going to be a Star Wars level success, that he thought it was innovative and brilliant and stuff. Maybe that's just like corporate hype that he was doing and he didn't actually believe that. But at some point, you know, if anonymous leakers who are familiar with the discussions are saying, no, internally he was saying it's going to be like a Star Wars level success, that should wake you up and give you pause. Yeah, Sean Layden was a gamer too. Yeah, Sean Layden, also a gamer.
Helldivers for good live service design over monetization, because basically they kind of got FOMO right by making a live service feel live in a way that made sense for the video game bit, not just the business bit. And it seems that video really resonated with you guys. Holy shit, it exploded. Here's the flip side then. In this presentation, we learned that 54% of Helldivers' revenue comes from microtransactions, from the 3.6 million monthly players.
Yeah, buddy.
That success, their first non-MLB live service, basically made PlayStation adamant that they can do it again, that they need to do it again. Investors obviously love the potential here, and that's why, quote, they remain very committed to building a diverse and resilient live service portfolio. Of course, it is diverse. At the minute, it's just, diverse in terms of one is alive, one is dead, some...
It's diverse like a cemetery is. There's people that are buried. There's people that have been cremated and are in urns. There's the people in the mausoleums. There's the people that come and visit and go, wow. There's that guy that died. Wow. And then they leave. It's very diverse.
Some are successful, others are killed in the cradle, which is not exactly the type of diverse they're really aiming for. The point, though, is very clear, that Helldivers shows, and again I quote, the level of success we achieve if we get everything right. That's obviously what they're shooting for. So now, they're doing everything that they can to get it right, because...
Honest question, though, and I want to hear from you guys in chat. Honest question. How much of this is luck? Like, as a percentage, is getting a successful live service game, is it 50% luck? Is it 80% luck? Is it 95% luck? Because I don't think it's all luck, because clearly you have to have a good game at the core. But at some point, I do find it interesting how you can have so many live service games getting pumped out, and some of them are even pretty solid, but if they just don't connect with people, they fail. And I feel like the desire for PlayStation is to find the formula to pump these things out every year and have a new billion-dollar game. And I'm just not sure if that's how this works. I do think there is a component of like luck and market conditions and more situational stuff that they're just not really accounting for. 40% luck, 60 game design, 80% luck, 78%, 70%, 90%, a lot of it. Yeah, 50%. This is 10%, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power of will, 5% pleasure, 50% pain. I see what you're doing. 10% reason to remember the name. Well, it's just, I think that there's also so many, there's layers to this where if your game launches, but the initial hype level is not super high, or if your game launches and it doesn't go viral, which can happen for any number of reasons. Maybe the gameplay itself doesn't contribute it, or it doesn't really work with viral content. I don't think there's a lot of viral clips being generated for Civ 7, for example, but I do think that there's plenty of viral clips being generated from Tarkov, or being generated from Call of Duty matches, or Apex, or Marvel Rival matches and stuff, because crazy, wacky things can happen. And certainly Helldivers 2, it really blew up based on that. The potential for viral content to be generated. How many of us saw funny clips of games that people were playing in Helldivers 2 that were just crazy and funny? That can go a long, long way. To get people interested in the game and to try it. And I just think if you don't have that, like the stars align in that way, even if the game is solid, it's just not going to find success, and it's going to die out, unfortunately, but that's just the case. And I think that with so much of it, I mean, either way, I'm seeing nobody in chat, nobody's saying it's 0%. Everybody agrees there is a decent component of this equation that is luck. And if there is a certain component of this equation that's based on luck, that means that you're going to be putting stuff out there, and you're just going to have to hope that you get lucky, and that this game, just the dice roll the right way, And if that's the component, if that's how this works, that's tough for a business to tolerate when you're just rolling the dice, even if the odds are in your favor, even if you're like, hey, our systems are really good. It's only down to 10% luck or 5% luck or whatever. The fact that there's, 5 in 100 occasions where you just like lose everything because you got unlucky. That's not great, dude. That's not what you want. And it feels like right now, like maybe the distinction needs to be what percentage of luck should it be versus what it actually is for PlayStation right now. I think right now it feels like it's like 85% luck. Arrowhead makes a really solid Helldivers game. It pops off. It does really well. By most measures, they didn't realize how successful it was going to be because they barely marketed it. They didn't have server infrastructure set up for it. They didn't expect people to connect with that game. And every time Sony really tries with a live service game, they don't do that great. So it seems that right now it's a lot more luck based, which is obviously what I think they're trying to overcome. They don't want that. They want it to be more locked and loaded. Because, to be fair to Herman, if they can get it to the point where they're able to pump out a new Helldivers 2 every year, yeah, that adds billions to their market value. But if that only happens once every 5 years because all the other ones are flopping, that's also not great, It's not great. Lord Sincross, thank you for the 5. Remember, WF, DE didn't try 200 live services. They did one and gave it their all, and it is the most consistent game on Steam since forever. What are the acronyms? Do you mean Warframe? They didn't try 200 live services. They did one, gave it their all, and it's the most consistent game on Steam since ever. Well, I think with Warframe specifically, that's a game that sort of has just been so consistent for a decade that has helped it just stick around as long as it has and make a ton of money as it has. But that's also the other piece of this. I do think if they had put Concord out and they had stuck with it and invested a ton into it, they could have had some sort of recovery. Because I do think there are people that like to root for the underdog. And at some point, I think people would have been like, I'm going to try Concord again. And if it was really good, they might get their friends to hop back in. Look at what freaking happened with Battlefront 2. Out of nowhere, I guess it was shows and movies and stuff that were doing well on Disney+. But, Battlefront 2 of all games, that was a disaster back in 2017. An international business disaster. That game even saw a major comeback in the last few months. So I think Concord could have had one eventually, but they would have to stick with it for years to continue improving it, continue making it better. And that just doesn't make sense for their business. Again, it feels like most of Sony's live service stuff is based around getting the package, packaging it up, getting it all ready to go. And then you chuck it off the skyscraper and they watch it fall and they hope desperately that it falls in a way where the egg inside the package doesn't crack. And if it doesn't crack, boom, we did it. And if it does, okay, we'll clean it up. Let's try again. And they just move on. They don't try to repair it. They don't try to do anything. They just move on. And I think that that's the broader strategy. Ubisoft was known for doing that for a while, lost it eventually. You mean like the repairing it and working on it repeatedly? Is that what you mean? I guess sort of. They do tend to support their games long term. I'll give them that. Even something like Star Wars Outlaws, they made a ton of improvements to that for a while. So I think they are getting there. Yeah, supporting long time. I think it deserves credit when publishers do it and developers do it, but unfortunately it's becoming more and more rare because it's just so freaking expensive. $50 million eggs, dude. Some of these eggs are worth $200 million, and they're like, oh well, let's try again. It's crazy, dude. It's absolutely wild. And like I said, in any other business, if you go to your boss and you say, hey, I lost us like $200 million, you lose your job. Herman gets promoted. Figure that one out.
Marathon is their immediate future. There is the other game, Fair Games, that is still listed as upcoming, and that's especially
Fair Game
relevant
$sign.
after Jade Raymond left Haven Studio, apparently after poor internal testing. So I suppose they'll be doing more iteration of that one as well. But overall, the live services will continue. whether that's from partners like Arc System Works who are doing a Marvel game, or internal teams like Bungie, because basically, even though Concord was a big failure, there's simply too much potential for another Helldivers in their view. So here's...
Well, and you can go back and you can look at the videos we made 5 years ago when Sony was first saying they're doubling down on live service. And it's simply because what we said back then was Sony is working on 12 different live service games, and they're going to just give them all a shot. And the hope is 1 or 2 of them popping off will pay for all the others, you know? And it's, if you have a big lineup of stuff, if you got Project 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. The potential for each one of these, if they pop off, let's just make it an easy $1 billion, okay? You make $1 billion. Each one of these, let's say on average, some of them will be more, some will be less, but let's say on average, each one of these costs like a solid 100 million, okay? Some of them will be 200 million, some of them will be 50 million, but let's say on average, they're each 100. You can have failures. You can have some of these that just lose money. 5 in a row, you're down 500 million, right? But then you have one success. Yeah, you have your Helldivers 2. And that comes out at $1 billion, and all of a sudden you're up 500 million. Wow. Now we can afford failure. And we're back at 0. But because of the one success, because of how much money a success makes, they can afford to have a lot of failures. And they just hope by the time they hit number 12, they get another success that brings them down to that $1 billion mark. So even though they wasted 10 projects that were like catastrophic failures that made no money, if they can get 2 successes, they're up $1 billion. And technically it's a win for them. And that's been the entire strategy since the beginning of the PS5 era for Jim Ryan, was we're going to just throw out like so much crap, and then if we get the success that pops and prints money, we're good. And it's true, like these games make crazy amounts of money. If you have not seen like the amount of revenue that games like Marvel Rivals or games like even though it's struggling comparatively, Overwatch, any of those games, they make so much freaking money, dude. It's insane. It really is. I wonder if they've reported recent numbers for Marvel Rivals revenue. Good God Almighty, is this true? As a result, NetEase said they've seen $2.9 billion in revenue for Marvel Rivals over the past quarter. In one quarter, they took in $2.9 billion in revenue, thanks to over 40 million players. I mean, maybe it's how this is phrased. Maybe that's total revenue for the company, but I don't think so. They say 2.9 billion in revenue from Marvel Rivals, from that game. Like, this is why PlayStation wants one of these. This is why. Good God Almighty. What percent is Nikki? I don't know. I got to talk to her. Dude, she casually told me. She's like, yeah, I'm at like, whatever it is. I don't remember exactly what it was. Hundreds of hours. She's at like 300 hours or something, because she lords all of her characters. She goes and plays ranked. Like, she goes hard. And I was like, I don't know. I don't think I'm past 100 hours in Marvel Rivals either. I basically just play it when like my brothers hop on, or when I'm playing with Nikki like once a week or something. Like, I don't play Marvel Rivals. I don't grind it or anything. But I realized at that point that my wife is a tryhard when it comes to Marvel Rivals. She grinds it out, dude. She grinds it out. It's wild. Luke, that looks like it's just for December. Yeah, for the first like big launch. I think it's technically February, I guess it depends on their quarter, but if it's the holiday quarter, then yeah. That's insane. But that's why these games are worth the risk. Because if you get a game that can make billions in one quarter. Yeah, so I think this is phrased weird. So to be clear, NetEase is saying 2.9 billion. They phrase it down here, it's 2.9 billion from Marvel Rivals. I'm gonna adjust this. I think Jake Valentine, I think this is just written kind of weird. I think their company had 2.9 billion total, including Marvel Rivals. I don't think Marvel Rivals accounted for all of that, but still, it made a ton of money either which way. They don't link the full article or financial statement, which is frustrating. I understand 99% of people don't give a crap about that, but still. Video Game Chronicle also reported of it. Yeah, net revenue of 2.9 billion. The game saw 644,000 players, higher than other popular titles. Yeah. So this includes their other games too, but still, it makes, even if you say it's 50% of it for its launch quarter or it's a third, it's still damn close to $1 billion in a quarter, which is ungodly. It's wild. Okay. These things make so much freaking money. It's upsetting, frankly. But that's why these companies can risk having a flop. They can risk it because even if it flops, they can afford a few flops for every success and they'll still end up profitable. It's a wild way to make money, but it's also kind of beautifully ironic because for a lot of these companies, they make a lot of the money in these live service games by utilizing like gacha mechanics, by utilizing things like loot boxes, loot crates, things like that. Basically gambling. And then their whole business is basically gambling on these games being successful or not. And it's just kind of, it's really poetic in a way that they lose money for the same
Eric Branke
reason.
donated $9.99 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
For Sony specifically, I think they need to get like 80% lucky. Fans of PlayStation Studios aren't sweating for the next hero shooter. They're still missing the PS4 era of SP titles.
I think, thank you for the 10, first of all, but I do genuinely think that you're right, that PlayStation fans, the people that they've been like cultivating for so long, they are not particularly big fans of the live service push. Most of them are like rolling their eyes at it. There's still a lot of players who will buy the live service and play them, as we saw with Helldivers, and Marvel Rivals too. I mean, there's players out there that want games like that and will spend a lot of time and money on them. But the core fan base of PlayStation, yeah, they don't really give a crap. Yeah. Thank you, Boone, for the membership. By the way, thank you. And welcome Reaper Death for the gifted. Welcome. Join the Discord before you forget. Love to have you there. Ricky Bobby, dear baby Jesus. Thank you for the 5. Would you recommend the Steam Deck OLED or the ROG Ally? Love the streams. Thanks. At this point, I'm going to say Steam Deck OLED personally. And I have both. I love my ROG Ally. It's great. But the Steam Deck, they've made so much progress with just the streamlining of the software. Just everything is really, really improved. It's really nice to see. So I'd recommend that one. Also, get ready, buckle up. GameSpot did publish their review, but their review came out at a 7. Oh no. No way. Is this really in the review? One of their bad questionable tropes around what does that even mean, dude? That's one of their reasons for giving it a 7. Hold on. Is that from this? Is that from this review? Is that real? Hold on. I'm going to check it in an archive. It is real. Dude. GameSpot, dude, Eurogamer also had some insane stuff too. Some of Eurogamer's stuff, I was like, what are we doing, fam? Like, we've lost the plot. Is GameSpot also losing it too? It's too bad. Like, seriously, who is I so many of these channels and stuff, I'm like, where are you getting the money to make this slop? Like, I genuinely don't understand it. Like, what is happening? I don't get it, dude. I don't understand. I don't know. Remember when GameSpot had top 5 Skyrim mods of the week? That was a long time ago. Man. Okay, it's loading the archive. And the reason I do it this way is because if it's just rage bait stuff, I don't want to give them money. You know? If they're just trying to farm engagement by being like ridiculous, I don't want to encourage that. But I don't know, man. Okay. It's almost there. Man, that's crazy. If that's really like one of their main points. It's fixated on revisiting past ideas, which limits its impact on being good but not great. Sequel. It literally is real. Okay. Well, where do they talk about it? This obsession with honoring past legacy also carries the baggage of some of the series' worst tropes, particularly around the portrayal of women, which the first game was also guilty of. While I can't speak with authority about some of the sequel's plot lines, including one involving a phenomenon around childbirth, some scenes cause an exhausting deja vu. There's an unskippable photography minigame featuring 3 women posing in front of the camera, as well as a central character who often takes her shoes off as crew members make a running commentary about this habit. So a female character takes her shoes off, and that's a problematic... I'm... Okay. And this thing that they're talking about, okay, by the way, the unskippable photography minigame. You guys know what she's talking about, right? Like, you know what this is talking about. This already was revealed. It's their photo mode. This thing. It's like a new photo mode where you have like a little camera and then they like pose, and so you can capture characters in motion. This is the problematic portrayal of women that's being discussed. Are women not allowed to take pictures? What is the insinuation? Like, what are you saying? I feel like I am getting stupider having read this. This is breaking my brain. Okay. Okay, so the shoes thing is a problem. Apparently, the camera pans during cutscenes aren't as excessive as, say, the treatment around Quiet in Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, but it all feels unnecessary. Okay. And since you're witnessing photorealistic depictions of real-life actors, it can slip into being a bit weird. What? Who wrote this? It's Diego. Diego has written for GameSpot, The Washington Post, NPR, Polygon, The Verge, and other. Okay, this is making a lot more sense now. Dude, Diego, what is happening, my guy? Can you just imagine playing a game and just being like, oh, this game's pretty sexist. She took off her shoes. They took pictures. Look at that. Disgusting. Come on, Kojima. Come on. Unbelievable. When will this end? When will Kojima stop? Who's going to hold him accountable? You know? Dude must have hated Expedition 33. Dude, for real. Dude, for real. I wonder, did he ever say anything about Expedition 33? I'm genuinely curious now. Oh. Well, once more, I can't say I'm that surprised. Because I'm guessing you're going to get a good amount of feedback on that review. Man, that's hilarious, though. Because there's certain things you can do in a review that just immediately discredit your opinion. And I feel like that is, like, insane. Like, literally throwing a fit because characters take pictures in a photo mode and one of the characters takes her shoes off in the, like, home base. But whatever. That's wild. That's crazy. I was not ready for that. Feet lovers are so oppressed. Yeah, everybody rise up. Now's the time. Now's the time. Oh man. What utter trash. Oh God. Okay. Daniel, thank you for the 26 months at Show Off tier. That's fantastic. Thank you, my friend. So question, Luke, I tried getting into the first Death Stranding, but the walking sim part of the game was just not for me. Do you think I'll find the second game entertaining at all? My understanding is that Death Stranding 2 is more Death Stranding, like through and through. It is more of the same. It is a lot of walking. It's a lot of traversal. And there's cool little things. Like Kojima talked about how the music for the game will change based on where you are on the map. So for example, if you're walking on the precipice, the music will be different. So you hear the drums are there, the maybe synths come in, the vocals come in, all of that. But if you were to cross down into the valley off of the precipice, the drums might fade out or the vocals might disappear. So they have these systems for like dynamic music while you explore, which is a really cool and novel thing. But you're still running and walking everywhere. You know, like you're still delivering packages by running across vast landscapes and things. It's not going to magically change. That's just how it is. That's just what it is. So I think if you didn't like the first game because of its gameplay, you're not going to magically love this one. The cardio's insane. Yeah, dude, for real. It's not AI music, is it? No, it's specifically they record all the tracks independently. So like the percussion is on its own track. The vocals are on their own track. The strings are on their own track. And so they can fade them in and out dynamically based on what's happening. Kind of like in a garage band or something like that, where you have the samples set and then you can repeat them and manipulate them where you need to. Or Fruity Loops or whatever the other app is. So it's something that, you know, is not technologically insane, but it is something that we haven't really seen implemented into video games with like dynamic audio. Things like that. We just saw an earthquake. So an earthquake hits and that will cause boulders to roll down the mountainside, or it can cause mudslides or this, like right there. Look, the actual dirt slides away and rolls down. So if you were down there at the bottom in that little valley, you'd be in trouble right now. Tell you what. So you probably want to keep walking on the precipice. And now you have a toddler instead of a baby. Don't let DSP get a hold of him. That's a callback to a previous episode. I'm not saying you should do that. It's DSP was playing Death Stranding and shaking a baby and then complaining he couldn't get it to calm down. Anyway, but at the end of the day, it is still Death Stranding. You know, that's the point. So if you didn't like the first one, I don't think you'll magically like this one. It's better Death Stranding. It's more Death Stranding, but it's Death Stranding. For me, my big hurdle overcoming the first game was the dialogue. I just really struggle with Kojima's writing when it comes to dialogue. But all the reviews we've looked at, even the ones that are like 8 out of 10s, they're saying that the dialogue is significantly improved, and they've adjusted it. So now a lot of the dialogue is tied into like branching dialogue choices. So you can actually select if you want to find out more about the world. If you want the long bits of exposition, you can engage with that. Or if you want to just hear the essential bits to continue doing the mission, you can do that too. And so my primary frustrations with Death Stranding seem to have largely been addressed, which means this could end up being like one of my highlight games of 2025. So I'm very excited for it. But if you just didn't like the actual like minutia of the gameplay, it's not going to magically change here, I don't think. So hopefully that answers it. Death Stranding 3, you'll handle a teenager? Probably, yeah, at this point. Yeah. Or Kojima will change it so Sam is really old, and so the teenager pushes Sam in a wheelchair for most of the deliveries. Maybe that's how he does it. Maybe that's the shift. But yeah, I'm excited for it. It's going to be interesting. I'm intrigued, because it does seem like a lot of the gameplay specific stuff that I liked has been overhauled and greatly improved as well. Again, I'll never get over how weird it is to just be carrying a toddler with you, but still. Yeah, they also said that the opening is a little sluggish, but then it picks up steam pretty quickly. Oh my God, that was adorable. Did you see that? Look at the little bitty delivery package case. Look how cute that is. That's adorable. I love that. Yeah, if Sony has anything to do with it, it'll be an extraction shooter in the third one. Yeah, probably. Let's be perfectly honest about this. It's gonna be a extraction shooter. Yeah, and then here's some desert sections and stuff like that. So I'm excited to see what it brings to the table. I'm excited for it. The reviews are very, very good, and so I'm very excited. Did I finish the altar? Yeah, so the altars is interesting because it's nothing like this, to be clear. It is much more of a management game than it is it's not like an adventure game or anything. There's some adventure, but it's much more of a management game. Think of it as that. Like it's not a game where you're doing a ton of exploration. You'll go find places to set up mining drills and stuff like that. The maps are fairly small. Most of what you're going to be doing is trying to coordinate how you manufacture stuff, how you manage your loot, how you do all sorts of stuff like that. That's where most of the gameplay is. And it's really good. I really like the altars. If you like any sort of simulation management games, play the altars. It's very good. Very, very good. Veilguard has 82. Yeah, they were selective with critics. Death Stranding seems to have been more open about it. Obviously, I'm not reviewing the game. Nobody's entitled to review code, so I mean, I can't say I blame them. I tend to be kind of hard on games. And I also accused Kojima fanboys in the last game of having Kojima syndrome and being incapable of admitting when he's bad at something. So I can understand why they were like, maybe not Luke. I get it. I can see it. It's like same thing. I was genuinely shocked when they sent me a review code for Starfield, and I don't think they meant to. I think it might have honestly been an oversight, but I'm still glad to have been able to review it. But with Death Stranding, yeah, I mean, maybe they're being selective with review codes. I don't know, but
Samuel James donated $9.99 through Super Chat.
Thank you.
I liked your coverage on Directive 8020. Kept laughing at living with the consequences and the big scary monster. And I think a rewind feature in general reduces playability.
Yeah, and I think, some people in the comments were like, well, as always, you just don't have to use it. So like, if you don't like the replay feature, you don't have to use it. And just to be clear with everybody, in case you're not familiar with what we're talking about, in the Directive 8020 trailer or a demo thing that I played at Summer Games Fest, they described and showed a replay feature, which means after a big decision or a big thing where something bad can happen, somebody dies or whatever, you can replay and rewind time and then try the other option. And they said it's like an optional thing if you want to experiment with different outcomes. However, I think that totally misses the point of these games and generally kind of neuters the experience. I think it's terrible. I think it should be cut out completely. I think they should get rid of it. Because if you give players the ability to use something, they will use it. Same with like quick save, quick load. Okay, I understand quick save, quick loads are optional, but if you give players the option to use quick save, quick load, they will use it before a big decision in the game, and then they'll be dissatisfied with the outcome. They'll quickly tap F6 or whatever on their keyboard, reload, go back and try it again, and get the outcome that they like better. But then they'll be frustrated that the gameplay didn't have any real consequence, because it didn't, because it let them out. It let them get away with it, you know, no matter what. So I think that the replay feature is very dumb. And anybody who's like, just don't use it. It's like, okay, if I shouldn't use it, why is it in the game? Like, I understand that it's an accessibility thing, but if it's framed as an accessibility thing, that's one thing. It's being framed as like a key gameplay innovation. And it's not that, as far as I can tell. And I've tried it, and I like these games. I like the studio. I like Supermassive a lot. But man, I think it just totally misses the plot. It's like if you're playing any sort of RPG and then there's a big decision and somebody quick loads back and redoes the decision, that kind of ruins the game. It ruins the choice. And in this game, that is all the gameplay is those decisions. It's just a colossal mistake, I think, to integrate it. So anyway. Or at the very, maybe give it as an option after you complete a full run through of the game as like a new game plus thing. Do it like that. But I feel like introducing a rewind option just totally misses the point of these games. And, you know, that's setting aside the other problems I have with what I saw, which, you know, were kind of numerous, unfortunately. But we'll see. Characters had the charisma of a damp piece of toast. Just, we'll see. And I'm saying I loved The Quarry. I like these games, but man, I was really frustrated with that demo. I hope it's way better in the final product, but we'll see. Let's see. But yeah, thank you again, Samuel. Thank you. Okay. Let's talk about Mind's Eye. Dude, the layoffs have hit. They're laying off about a third of the company. Which again, like, can't say I'm surprised. Can't say I'm shocked, but whatever. Oh, Eurogamer posted their review of Death Stranding 2. I don't really want to watch Eurogamer's review either. What did they give it? Are they not on X anymore? Oh, no, they are. I just typed it weird. Oh, this is why they weren't showing up for me. Because after their really stupid stuff about KCD2, they were calling KCD2 like implying that it was racist and that playing the game was problematic. It's just insanity. I blocked them. What did they give it? Yeah, their takes on KCD2 were so brain dead. It was unbelievable. Okay, they gave it an 8 out of 10. 4 stars. Okay. I'm sorry, that 7 review is hilarious. It's so dumb. So dumb. Okay. No, so Martin, the rewind thing in Life is Strange is not what this is. And if you think it's the same, respectfully, you don't understand what it is in Directive 8020. This, what they're doing in Directive 8020 is very different from what Life is Strange did, okay? Life is Strange, it's a literal gameplay mechanic, okay? This is literally like Control Z. Okay, it's not the same thing. It just isn't. Caboose, thank you for the 5. Death Stranding 2 looks incredible and shows we were one step closer to massive open world game with the graphical fidelity of Hellblade 2. Not there yet, but so close. Yeah, well, and it's also what the interesting thing also was that the Digital Foundry guys, they were pointing out that they're achieving a lot of this level of fidelity without some of the like staple features that we hear talked about so much. So like with Unreal Engine 5, one of their big features for getting fine minute detail in environments is what's it called? It's the polygon thing that makes the really small polygons. Oh my god, why can I not remember the name of it? Nanite. Thank you, Nanite. You guys are amazing. Thank you. Yeah, Nanite. So Nanite is something Unreal Engine does to try and increase this level of fidelity to this point where you can have a lot of fine detail in meshes because it can manage the polygon count dynamically for you. So you don't have to have 15 levels of detail as you move through the map, getting further away from it. That's where we hear a lot of that discourse go, is just Nanite, Nanite, Nanite. And they're doing it here in the Decima engine without any of that. And it goes to show you like that there are amazing tools out there outside of Unreal Engine 5, you know, if you are willing to develop them and build them out, which they have certainly done here. Certainly done it here. My thing I'm most excited for here, though, is the dynamic weather stuff. I mean, this is the idea of the earthquakes and stuff is really exciting to me. I just love the idea that you could be hiking and then an earthquake hits and it causes a landslide that then you have to navigate around. I'm also wondering, like, imagine I've got zip lines or I've got something built there. This collapses, so now I have to rebuild it. Like the idea that some of the stuff you build has to be redone or has to be adjusted and repaired because of the environment literally shifting and evolving. That's super cool to me. I really love that idea. So, yeah. Dynamic mesh shading is not a new idea. Epic is a great marketer. Well, exactly. And I think they do a good job of framing it in a way that the average consumer can understand. So like when you show off, this is like their Unreal Nanite tech demo. They show this in sort of like an Apple-esque presentation in a way that's kind of easy to understand, where you can show all the different meshes and you show how they're built off of the same basic pieces and building blocks. And then you can go through and you can show, where is it? They show Nanite specifically running, I think it was a forest section. Did I just go past it? I think I did. Yeah, they do these like cube-based things. And so people can kind of understand it. It just starts to make sense. It's far from a perfect system, but it makes sense. But a lot of other games have been doing all sorts of different really clever solutions for this for a long time. This one is just genuinely kind of cool because it's like, hey, yeah, if this thing over here, this pine needle is the size of a pixel, you don't need to have the full geometry being calculated. You just need a single pixel. So just turn it into a little cube. And that's what they do. Like, okay, it's just a cube about the size of a pixel. And that's what we'll render instead. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So yeah, it's also, I think KCD 2 was another phenomenal example of how you don't need like these big engines. You don't need anything on that scale. You can have proprietary stuff that's very successful and does very, very well. You just have to put the effort in. You have to put the polish in, you know. But unfortunately, a lot of people, it's harder, easier said than done, to just like casually make your own engine. Yeah, just make your own engine and make it look amazing and world class. Just figure that out, dude. Stop being lazy. Figure it out. Figure it out, whatever. The Horizon Games engine is amazing. Yeah, dude, it's very, very good. It's very impressive. And they made a ton of improvements to it. Kojima's made a ton of improvements to it. And I am glad to see that it seems to have delivered. And the other piece is, it's performant. They're saying Death Stranding 2 is doing all of this stuff locked at a solid 60 frames. And that's awesome to see. And you don't see, unfortunately, you don't see that a lot. A lot of games are struggling to hit, are struggling to maintain those performance levels. So yeah, I'm excited to see it. Okay. Close that. Close that. Thankfully, close the GameSpot review because I don't think I could. I don't think I could handle that. I can't even look at it. Just breaks my brain. Okay. I work 8 to 9 hours per day as a welder. I don't have time to try and learn how to build an engine. Hell, I barely have time to learn Unreal Engine. Fair. Is like procedurally generated, or they set instances for everybody? Oh, do you mean the like earthquakes and stuff? My understanding is that the earthquakes are like dynamic, so I imagine that the rock slides will happen much more like instanced. I think it's going to happen much more instanced. I don't think that that's happening just about anywhere on the map. Like I think it's only in specific areas that they set, but I do think that the actual earthquakes and the storms and all of that stuff is more dynamic. But like, I'm not expecting that any spot on the map can collapse. I'm not expecting that. I don't think that's how it'll work. Personally, maybe I'm wrong for that. Maybe they'll surprise me, but yeah, I don't think that would be realistic, frankly. Do you think Horizon Online will use the same engine or different? It's my understanding it's using the same engine. It's using the Decima engine. Yeah. That's my understanding. There we go. Okay. Okay. Sorry, we had some bots. This is why traditionally I haven't tried also streaming to Kick, because they just have so many bots, dude. So many bots, and they just come in and flood. It's really tough. I don't know. I don't think streaming to Kick is worth it personally, but maybe. Maybe. I don't know. For me, it's a button. It's press a button and it goes there. Anyway. What is this? Whenever I see a Saints Row clip, I feel like I have to watch it. How bad do you have to mess up your game for this downgrade to happen?
I'm into showering. Are you gonna help me get the waffle maker or not?
As an investor, I don't like wasting money.
You're wearing a fucking bow tie.
Okay, I will throw in 20 bucks for a waffle maker.
What sort of waffle maker can I get for 35 bucks?
Presumably one that makes fucking waffles?
Hey, the wage slave is back.
Got stiffed on my bonus today.
Dude, what the fuck?
I played a little fast and loose on the job, and, well, my...
Man, this is really fucking good, Kev.
Thanks. I was worried I added too much pepper.
No, seriously, this is perfect. The only way this could be better is if you put on a fucking shirt.
Dinner and a show, baby.
Oh, please.
The fuck is this? We paid up this month.
Someone paid more.
What happened?
We got arrested.
No, to us. Burke's right. We traded our dicks in for pussies. Seriously. Movie deals, commercials. Saint's name used to mean something more than body spray and some ass-tasting energy drink.
Our brand's worth a shitload of money.
Is that what it's all about?
Already,
It's always about
there's like 5 different problematic things he said. That you know they would
the
lose
money,
their minds
Mr.
over.
Gat, which is precisely why our employer wishes to speak with you.
And I am Philippe Laurent, chairman of a multinational organization called the Syndicate.
Never heard of it.
Evidently not, or you would not have robbed our bank. Perhaps you wonder why you are still breathing at this point.
Actually, I wonder why my foot's not up your ass at this point.
Like it or not, Mr. Gat, our organization is expanding into Stillwater. I am offering you the chance to leverage your assets against your lives.
Dude, what a
As
night
an
and day
investor,
difference.
I don't like wasting money.
And you can just feel. Oh, I forgot how bad this was. Every single line, there's some little like, oh, we're so quirky thing. I'm into showering.
The waffle maker or not?
And then, oh, I'm an investor. He's an investor. So he's the brains of the operation, you know.
As an investor, I don't like wasting money. You're wearing a fucking bow tie.
Haha, he is. What a loser.
I will throw in 20 bucks for a waffle maker.
I will throw in 20 bucks for a waffle maker.
What sort of waffle maker can I get for 35 bucks?
And that's the whole joke there. This is brilliant. Whole joke there is he's only putting in 15. So his buddy's putting in more money than him, even though he wants the waffle maker. Quirky and witty.
Presumably one that makes fucking waffles?
Hey!
Like, seriously, have they never met a human being before? Maybe these games are written by aliens. Maybe that's the answer. Because I swear to God, people don't talk the way they talk in these games. It's like, hey, who does that when their friend walks in? They go, hey. Like, what? It's just so stupid. Oh, and dude, I forgot. Look at this. This is getting recommended to me now. Suicide Squad somehow got worse. Dude, thanks for the views. 800,000 views on this. Who is Lawless? Okay. Wow. Lawless is really annoying. Are you ready? It is such a parody of itself. I can't even tell if they're being serious or not anymore, but I'm pretty sure they're being serious. And to prove that they're being serious, I'm going to make you watch the opening of season 3, which I had to sit through when I booted this up on stream earlier today. Just take this in. Take this in. I'll play the clip of the stream so you can enjoy it with me and everybody else who's in chat. I would say enjoy, but I guess it's not really possible. So watch this. Oh no. Oh, it's starting. Hold on.
Now Metropolis is under siege and it's being suppressed in Ria. I had to get in there and do something. Okay, I had some help from the Suicide Squad. Thanks, Dad. Shot. Anyway, Brainiac's been doing this mega colonizing shtick across multiple dimensions. So I've been exploring, documenting, and making plans. Unlike some people. We'll work on that when they get here. So, where is here? I mean, look at this. What even is this, Brainiac? Actually, first, I have something to show y'all straight from Brainiac's lab. Woo! I'll be back. We're supporting some great charities this month. Mods, drop the info links. This message is for Deadshot, Floyd Lawton. Hey, Dad, it's me, Zoe, which you know, obviously. So I broke a few rules, but I have very valid reasons, okay? Columbus, some cool Catwoman memorabilia, and I found your favorite space
Columbus.
cop. If you can be cool about it. Listen, things are spicy and I shouldn't do it alone, so, you know, come pick me up.
Wow. Yep, it got worse. It somehow got worse. The Joker, who is also kind of like, the Joker, baby. It wasn't even like a good... Dude, I forgot how rough this was. It's just... And they somehow managed to make characters that are progressively more unlikable. It really is amazing. It's a talent. It's just amazing.
Listen, we go in there. We tell Waller we're not letting her do that to any kid.
To be clear, this is after you defeat Brainiac and you basically save Lawless from his grasp. So now Lawless can join the party, and this is how every character introduction works in Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Once you've unlocked them, you get a cutscene that plays out that introduces them, blah, blah, blah. So that's where we are. This is like your first real introduction outside of that cartoon intro to Lawless as a character. Here we go.
Any more kids?
Welcome to Task Force X, Zoe Lawton.
Ugh, here we go.
This is low. Even for you, Waller.
Hello? I'm right here? Ugh, that is so like you to go right past me.
I haven't asked anyone to do anything I wouldn't do myself in this situation. I certainly haven't compromised my morals. Maybe you're just projecting.
Zoe?
Yeah. Oh, God. Got him. Sit down, stupid man.
It's 13 years old. You can't just...
Dad! I'm 18.
18?
This is my choice, okay? I'm doing what feels right, which I thought you'd be all about. And I definitely do know what I'm getting into.
It's not a phase, Dad. My problem is I just struggle with people who talk with the side of their head. Dad. Like it's something I struggle with in high school. Not high school, in college. One of my acting teachers, like, because we would do electives and I would pick acting classes and theater classes because they were really easy and fun. kind of a joke too, because it's like, how do you fail an acting course? What are they gonna do? Like, it's very easy. But the thing I've always struggled with is seeing people when they act and they're really trying, they'll do their head. And so one of my teachers called it talking with the side of your head, which it's like, I'm talking to you right now. Listen to me. It's like a weird snake move. It's very uncanny. And once you see it in somebody's performance, you can't unsee it. Watch.
Okay?
Right there.
18. This is my choice, okay? I'm doing what feels right, which I thought you'd
See what I mean? You can never unsee it. And it's like my college acting teacher coach dude tried to work out of us because it was like, don't do that. It looks stupid. But this is in a $200 million video game, okay? Oh, I struggle with it. I really do. Yeah, that one was bad. That one was really bad. As I've said before, and this is what I'll finish on, because this is not even a humble brag, okay? I'm gonna do this. If you made a single YouTube video on that, okay, there's what's known as the break-even point, okay? The break-even point. Imagine it like this. This is the line that is the break-even point. When you spend money on something, it basically goes like this, right? And then you lose more and more money the further away from the break-even point you get. So your hope is that you release the game here, and then it goes up, you get sales, and you reach the break-even point here. You make money, you're happy, and you get all of that, this in profit, right? That's the idea. That did not happen with Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad kind of did this. Okay? So they lost all of this money, which according to the investor calls was about $200 million. Probably more. But what that means is if you made a YouTube video or a TikTok or anything, and you made literally a cent, you technically made more money than Suicide Squad did. So I'm very proud to say I technically made more money off of Suicide Squad than Warner Brothers did, which is kind of hilarious. Because as long as you don't lose $200 million, you're technically ahead. So I wear that as a badge of honor and pride. It also probably means that they will not call me the next time they have a game to show off. But can you really blame them? I mean, can you really blame them? It's just, I don't know how you do it. Not getting my hopes up, tell you what. Oh, man. Oh, golly. I don't know why YouTube does that to me. They reintroduce those old things just as it's escaping my memory. Just as I'm starting to forget. It brings me back. Okay. Anyway. Let's see. Okay. No, like access to Hogwarts Legacy 2. No, they probably don't give me access to Hogwarts Legacy 2. With this stuff, like, if you want, you can basically, like, say whatever you want, but you're going to lose opportunities. Or you can keep yourself, like, kind of on a leash and then maintain access and, like, keep everybody roughly happy. And I've just realized I'm really bad at not saying what I think, even though it gets me in trouble sometimes. So if I think a game looks utterly horrible, I will tell you. And that can get me into trouble. For example, I didn't get offered a Mind's Eye sponsorship. Imagine how funny that stream would have been if I'd gotten offered a Mind's Eye sponsorship to stream the game. That would have been gold, dude. Imagine that. But I didn't get that opportunity. I missed out. Man. Oh well. Oh well. Samuel, thank you for the 12 months. 1 year. Oh, baby. Thank you. Also, Sir Twitch. Suso, sir? I don't know. I can't read. Thank you for the Prime over on Twitch as well. Thank you. I'm stoked. You should be. A year is amazing. That's fantastic. Thank you. Glad to have you. Welcome. Ugh, okay. Not to be the dead horse, but at this point, Warner Brothers could have made 20 times the money they lost on licensing the Nemesis system all those years ago. Sag. I mean, I don't know about licensing it, but I think they could have given the rights to like Shadow of Mordor to another team and let them do it. I spoke to somebody who worked on Wonder Woman, and they worked on it as an engineer, and they were saying how the problem was that they were trying to port the Nemesis system into the new engine, which I believe they were moving it to Unreal. And that apparently did not work well at all. They had like no documentation from the initial development. They had very, very little to use to build it out. And so they got into some big trouble with it. And it's part of the reason the game was in development hell for so long. Yeah, I've asked a couple of those people I know that have worked on those games in passing, even just for like 6 months at a time, and I've asked them if they would be interested in coming back at like on stream and talking about it, because I think it'd be very interesting content wise to be able to talk to somebody who worked on it and find out like their whole thought process. But yeah, we'll see. It's obviously tricky because if somebody comes on stream and is willing to talk about that stuff, they probably will not get hired at Warner Brothers again, you know? Probably not. Probably not. Does a Prime sub make much difference between that and a normal sub? I don't think so. I think it's the same amount monetarily either way. So I don't think it makes a difference. I don't think so. Yeah. Did I get the collector's edition of Death Stranding 2? No, I did not. No. As you can tell behind me, I have a lot of statues, so I have to start being more selective with them. The sculpt didn't look bad. The statue looked good, but no, I did not get it. Yeah, this was also funny. Hideo Kojima rewrote the story of Death Stranding 2 because too many people liked it. I'm going to be very honest. We have been testing the game with players, and the results are too good. They like it too much. That means something is wrong. We have to change something. Changed stuff. They said Kojima then changed stuff in the script and the way some crucial stuff happens in the game because he was afraid it wasn't polarizing enough and not triggering enough emotions. If everyone likes it, it means it's mainstream. If I can't read. It means it's too conventional. It means it's already pre-digested for people to like it. And I don't want that. I want people to end up liking things they didn't like when they first encountered it, because that's where you really end up loving something. Kojima fuming today. He sees all the reviews. Damn it! They like it! Shoot! Man, come on! Kojima's so cringy sometimes. I think, honestly, it gives me the vibe as, like, I understand what he's saying. If something is really easy to just be like, hey, I like it. They're not thinking about it that much. They're just saying, hey, I like it. So I understand what he's saying. But what it sounds like he's saying, and maybe this is just like a translation issue, but it really does sound like, oh, if you like my game, I will change it because I don't want you to like it. I want you to fight with it and deal with it and wrestle with it. Which I guess sort of is what he's saying, but it does sound very pretentious. Certainly. Yeah, I don't want you to like it. It's like that movie, what was it? The Menu, where the chef makes the meal and then is like, I don't know, it's not that filling. It's supposed to leave you wanting, leave you hungry, you know? Yeah. Luke, I like your stream too much. Can you please play Mind's Eye instead? Now you're talking. Now we're thinking. Now you're thinking, man. Captain damn it. Whoops, I'm 40 minutes behind. Dude, it happens sometimes. Sometimes people just like pause and then they come back, they hit play, and then they keep listening, and then they're like, oh wait, no, I'm super behind. And so you'll comment on something and then it's like way behind. Yeah, it happens. It happens. Okay. Okay, I think we got through that. We got through this. Yeah, I think the final, so it looks like right now the lineup for Game of the Year, I don't actually think it'll be Monster Hunter. I think it's going to be KCD 2. But Death Stranding now is sitting at like 90 Metacritic. That certainly puts it up there. So I think it's KCD 2, Death Stranding, Expedition 33, and Split Fiction at the moment. And I still think Expedition takes it. You know? I still think Expedition takes it. Maybe there's one more or two more surprises left in the year, but, you know, man. Like, I'm expecting Mafia to hopefully be good. I'm not expecting it to be a masterpiece. If it is, I'm very excited for that. But, I mean, in order to compete in Game of the Year this year, I think you need to be, 90 plus Metacritic. You need to have universal acclaim. Everybody needs to love your game. And I feel like Split Fiction's achieved that. Death Stranding seems to have achieved that. Expedition achieved that. KCD 2, I think, achieved that. Monster Hunter right now is not doing great. Yeah, now it's all the way up to 11,000 overwhelmingly negative reviews. Sold phenomenally well, but yeah, people are raging about it, dude. Got a brand new rig, even that I can't play a poorly made game. No thought given to the people who actually play these games. Runs like crap for how it looks. Dude, it's what's even crazy. So it seems like there was some update too. This was my first game of the year, or was my game of the year. But oh boy, now I can't even be asked to launch it, let alone anything else. The game crashed more often on launch than I can count, and always near the end when monsters are about to die, killing the little motivation I had left to grind. This is after 100 hours. Like, these are not haters; these are fans, and even they are like, eh. So I think it's KCD, Expedition, Split Fiction, and Death Stranding at this point. And I think we might have one more surprise in us. Maybe Ghost gets up there. It's possible that Ghost is up there. But yeah, it's gonna be a fierce competition. But I still think Expedition 33 probably takes it. That's kind of my guess. Yeah, I'm cool with that winning. Arc Raiders, I think Arc Raiders is just, it's in a tough genre to compete on Game of the Year. Game of the Year historically tends to go to single player games. So even though it's an extraction shooter people are really excited about, I think that's going to be tricky for them to really compete with, Dying Light the Beast. Yeah, I think it's probably, it could be received well, but I think getting a 90 plus Metacritic score is crazy difficult. And I just don't think that many games left this year are quite on that level, because that's just, it's a lot. If Ghost is like the first one, it has no chance. Well, people just always forget that Ghost of Tsushima was not like overwhelming critical acclaim when it launched. Like it achieved that with users for sure. But with critics, it didn't quite achieve that level. It sat in like the low 80s. And it's funny because the reviews at the time complained a lot about repetitive content. They complained a lot about how it was structured like a Far Cry game. And so it felt like, Ubisoft Far Cry in Japan in more ways than one. And that was a common thing people complained about and brought up at the time. In the years since, that's largely been forgotten, and you don't hear that brought up a lot. And maybe it's in light of the AC Shadows discussions where people just started to really separate the two games out in their minds away from Ubisoft. But when it launched, I remember tons of people comparing it to Far Cry and not necessarily in a super positive light. I still really like the game. I would give it higher than an 83 personally. But this is going to be an interesting thing to watch. I mean, maybe similarly, Death Stranding 2, I think the first Death Stranding had an 82 on Metacritic, and now the new one's sitting at a 90. So they could seemingly achieve the same thing where maybe they hit like a 90 Metacritic on the sequel if it just takes all of the lessons from the first game and learns from them. I'm not sure, but it's going to be interesting. Yeah. They have a chance to fix all that with Yote. Yeah, no, they have a ton of opportunities with just reestablishing the gameplay loop. New weapons will make it exciting, of course, as well. But the repetition and things, that's going to be just... It's going to be interesting to see how they tackle that, if they choose to. I mean, they might be like, hey, people still love the game. Let's set it up in a similar way. No need to beat yourself over the head with it. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Okay. Okay. I think we got through all of that. Wow. If there's no hot spring scene, we riot. Dude, they already had the ESRB thing revealed. Yote. ESRB. Okay. Shout out Cammy for clipping this. It was rated by the ESRB. Look at this. Okay. Blah, 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 blah. I'm looking for one specific spot. During the course of the game, a female character... no, where I just lost my place. During the course of the game, a female character's exposed buttocks is depicted in a hot spring. So it is officially confirmed through the ESRB rating that it is going to be in the game, just like in the first game. They kept it. So no need to worry about that, my friend. 53 nights, it's going to be okay. we're going to be okay. If PlayStation buys Warner Brothers games, would they get the Nemesis system, or would the patent still be with Warner Brothers until the patent runs out? It would still be with Warner Brothers until the patent runs out, unless they were to come up with some deal where they buy it from them. But that's not super likely. So, yeah, I don't think it's super likely. Is this it? I wanted to find the actual link to the patent. So I was just going to show you the patent. But I didn't bookmark it, so I don't have it. Basically, the patent is assigned to Warner Brothers Entertainment Incorporated. So if they were to buy like the IP rights to this game or that game, or if they were to buy these studios or that studio, they get all of that, but the corporation of Warner Brothers still owns the patent. So they would have to basically buy the rights for the patent or do a licensing agreement as part of the acquisition, which is very doable. And I would imagine if they're buying the company, that's probably what they would want to do. But yeah, a broader issue for them is that Monolith, the company that like actually like made these games, they were dissolved. So they're gone. So anybody who worked on the Nemesis system, they left. And then the other company that was working on the Black Panther game, where is it? He started a new studio. We're not related, as you can tell, Kevin Stevens. He started a new studio over at EA after leaving Monolith, and he's one of the guys that worked on the Nemesis system and all of that stuff, and they just shut his studio down. So I don't think that there's any solution where like Sony bought them and now look, we get to make, Middle Earth like great again or whatever. Like, I don't think that that's in the cards, because all of the people who were there are gone and the studios that worked on it are gone. So I don't think that there's any magic solution. I think that's it. They do have an opportunity if they wanted to start a new studio and get some of these OGs into the studio and work on something, they could do that and found a new studio. But historically, Sony in the last half decade, they've only really put money into new live service ventures and studios. They don't tend to throw a lot of money into new single player stuff. So I just don't think it's super likely. Now, maybe if they pitch to Herman a new live service Middle-earth game that also features a Nemesis system, that could get him excited, and that could actually be good. That could be interesting. So maybe there's an opportunity there for them to go to Warner Brothers, license the rights to it, and go from there. But it's still very, very unlikely. Very unlikely. Ismail, thank you for the super chat. What if Sony bought Batman games rights? Imagine a Spider-Man Spider-Man versus Batman game. I don't think they would ever let that happen because it's DC versus Marvel, and Marvel would have to go along with it. And I don't think they would ever. And the other piece is Marvel reportedly already takes like a solid 30% of the pie. So Marvel is already taking this. DC would probably want to take their own third of the pie. So, DC takes this, and that means that this chunk here is all that's left over for the people actually making the game. And if you break that down into like, a $70 game, if you're taking a third, you're taking a third, and only a third is left over for me. Like for every $70 copy, I'm making what, like $22 or something? $23? Like that doesn't really work. 23, 33. Like you're buying the game at 70, but the developers are only pocketing $23. And that's assuming you're not paying any distribution fees, any sort of Steam cut, because Steam also takes a third of it. So like, it just doesn't really work. Licensing things got too behemoths. Just it's not that easy unless you get one hell of a deal. It just doesn't really work. Yeah, so like $2. Yeah, I mean, it would be like Steam would take their cut first, and then it would be 30% of what's left over, and they'd probably negotiate it so it's better than 33%. But it's still, anytime you do a license deal, huge chunks of revenue just disappear because it's got to go to somebody. That's how you get the deal done. Also, I'm sorry, fam, just to let you know, they have delayed the Cyberpunk 2077 2.3 patch. So this whole thing that was supposed to come out like on the 26th, so in like 3 days, that has been delayed. They said they just needed more time on it, and they're working on it. So we'll see. But I don't think they gave us any date. Yeah, we don't know when we'll get a preview of what it is or when it will arrive. They've just put it on hold. So, yeah. I don't know why, but yeah. Okay. So everybody, I think what we're going to do is we're going to call it there. I've got to run to the mailbox real quick. So I got to do that. Then tonight we're going to film the Death Stranding video, and we'll put that up probably first thing in the morning. It's going to be good. I can't wait. So make sure if you have been hanging with us, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you're joining the Discord, which is for members and Twitch subs only. Get over there. We'd love to have you there. It's going to be awesome. And we'll be back on Wednesday, rocking and rolling with another stream, and it should be a really good time, okay? So have a wonderful rest of your day. Get in the Discord. Much love, everybody. I'll see you soon. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.